Chapter 1. It all began with a marriage announcement. That being said, you're a married man starting today, Lord CLO. Hold on. It was early afternoon, and the sun was still high up in the sky. I returned home to receive an announcement of my marriage from my secretary, Gray. Honestly, I'm at a complete loss. I finished my morning duties, as usual, and decided to have lunch at a restaurant when I was requested to return home, as Gray had something to report to me in private. I was informed that my marriage had been fixed and that my fiancée would be arriving here in a few days' time. I was aware that I wouldn't be able to choose my own bride. Nevertheless, this was simply too sudden. I, CLO Hartfield, am a noble governing this region. The age of this body is 19, but going by my memories, I've lived for over 40 years. It's my 4th year of managing this barony. A young and competent lord is not how I would describe myself, for I am but noble in name. Due to a mistake made in the past, I was demoted in rank, or rather isolated, and pushed into managing this region. I spoke of this body's age and my mental age earlier because I have memories of my previous life. Moreover, this world is the game world from a so-called Otome game with swords and magic called When the Ring of Fire is Lit. World is painted red. ABBR, Ring of Fire. And I was reincarnated into this world with memories of it. Maybe it's more accurate to say I was given a chance at a new life in a world closely resembling that of the Otome game from my previous life. But that's harder to explain, so I don't want to bother. Also, I was reincarnated not as the protagonist or one of the love interests, but as a slightly older student who would have no reason to mingle with the main characters. Well, I suppose if I made an effort, I could interact with them, but I've actively avoided doing the very same. Because I don't feel like poking my nose into something that isn't even set in stone is one reason. But as I mentioned earlier, earning the wrath of High Noble in my student days forced me to graduate early, close to coerced voluntary withdrawal, and be kept on a leash in this boondocks I'm punished to manage. In short, if I leave this place to go to the academy in the capital, I'd be dragged back by the police. If I hadn't originally been born noble, I'd have probably been executed. So this is quite the fair treatment, honestly. If anything, I feel happier not having to take part in any of the cumbersome soirees in the city, but live a peaceful life in the country. Though we do get attacked by monsters once in a while. Isn't this good news, Lord CLO? You've got someone willing to marry you, when every young lady avoids you like the plague. You lucky bugger. At present, when I'm about to set foot into the 20th year of my life and can only vaguely recall my previous life, I have a marriage imposed on me abruptly. Gray claps his hands and offers me insincere felicitations. It's obviously meant to be sarcastic, but it might be his way of offering support upon seeing me distraught. Well, it's true that I'm 19, and that's already rather late for marriage among nobility. Not to mention, no noble family wants anything to do with me. People do call you abnormal Cagliostro. That's news to me. Anyway, I thought I'd live out my days as a bachelor managing this barony, so having marriage suddenly sprung on me has put me at a loss. Be that as it may, it's already a done deal. Here, the marriage certificate from the church and the letter of acknowledgement from the parents. With all the bothersome formalities out of the way, you're husband and wife now. I looked over the documents handed to me. He was speaking the truth. According to the certificate, I am a married man as of today. Though I have no knowledge of it as one of the parties involved, I seem to have a wife already. The name of her house feels familiar for some reason. If I'm right, it's rather well known. Nah, probably not. There's no way any renowned house would have their daughter marry someone whose mere association could greatly damage their reputation. It's probably the troublesome daughter of a viscount or a baronet who was forced into this marriage. I guess if it's been recognized by the church and her parents, I can raise no objection. What if she hates the countryside and we have an age difference of 20 years between us? Not that it matters. You were a lullicon. Don't fixate on the wrong thing. Though I do like children, I don't see them in a weird way. Wait a minute. If there's a 20-year difference, then the lady would have to be a newborn or a fetus yet to be born. But Valentine, I could have sworn I've heard the name somewhere before. I said the name repeatedly as I looked over the documents. Even someone uninterested in matters of nobility as I had heard of this name. No, I feel like it had more significance in some other setting. Count Margrave? Though I do feel like I've heard the name in those circles, I think it had a more important role to fulfill in this world in a different sense. It's almost at the tip of my tongue. As for the lady who's to be your partner, despite seeing me troubled, Gray might have purposely delayed mentioning the name of the lady who is to be my wife. Her name is Violet Valentine, and she's the daughter of a duke. He just mentioned the name of the aristocratic Villainess from the Otome game in my previous world. Violet Valentine. With beautiful lilac hair, she was a significant character who went head-to-head with the protagonist a lot. An aristocratic villainess with a fierce look in her eyes. I remember all of her endings, including the bad ending of the protagonist, were rather awful. If I'm not mistaken, the rough outline of them were as follows. Gets killed by the infuriated hero, love interest, after she hurts the heroine, protagonist. Gets killed by a monster, ends up a victim of a resuscitating monster, ultimately endangering the lives of the heroine and her party. Challenges the heroine and the hero to a duel, and upon defeat, ends up a loner in the academy, drops out and lives out the rest of her days in an abbey in the countryside. Her feudal death is mentioned at the end in passing. Same duel as above, but drops out and is married off to some ugly man in the countryside. Implication being she is subjected to the man's sexual perversions. A villainess she may be, it made people wonder if the devs had some sort of grudge against her that led to her ghastly treatment. Even as I was watching my sister play the game, I did think she had an awful temper, placed too much importance on status, and found her rather annoying and obstinate. Wait a second. If I'm to trust my memory. I'm supposed to be the ugly man in the sticks. Chapter 2, Preparation for the Welcoming. My dear sister from my previous life, what are you doing now? Your brother is getting married for the first time since coming to this world, including his previous life. My sister, you would have probably celebrated with a hooray while blasting Party Popper. Then, after cooking the fried rice you're so proud of, we would eat it together and you would happily listen to the details of my marriage. Believe it or not, my partner is a noble lady who I cannot match in status, a daughter of a duke. She's 4 years younger than me and an undeniably supreme beauty that's wasted on someone like me. I have not been informed of the circumstances of why somebody who's closer in status to the royal family ended up marrying someone like me, who's only a noble in name, despite the existence of class system, but I suspect you, my sister, would know this as well. She was probably jealous of the heroine, involved an outsider to challenge her to a duel, lost, and was forced to take responsibility. That's right, my partner is the rival character from that quasi-medieval style Otome game with magic and monsters that you used to play. To be honest, I was only watching you play from behind, so some details might be different because my memories are fuzzy, but if things went according to that game, there should be no mistakes in a rough outline. Otherwise, I would have never been able to marry the Duke's daughter. It would have been unthinkable for her to marry a problematic feudal lord so far beneath her status from some rural countryside that was so unpopular among the youth that the only ones found there anymore were the ones with the most extenuating circumstances, unless something extraordinary happened. Things became this way because something extraordinary did happen, though. From what I remember, Lady Violet Valentine has a very harsh personality. She's hot-tempered and often intimidating due to her high social status. She often loudly warned and reprimanded the heroine. She's a haughty daughter of the Duke who borrowed the prince's authority. Her personality became her downfall, and she was kicked out of the academy by the heroine's love interest after continuously digging her grave, ultimately falling prey to a sealed monster. Oh man, I'm not confident that we can get along well. Her personality can also be interpreted as inflexible and serious rather than arrogant. So maybe it will be fine if I work seriously as a feudal lord and treated her like a princess? Yeah, both of those are impossible. What's the matter? Should you not be preparing to welcome Lady Violet? Preparing, huh? To start with, my house isn't extravagant enough to make her live as a princess. The previous feudal lord from several generations away built it forcibly. So while it's spacious and has many rooms, there aren't many decorations and furnishings currently, perhaps as a result of them being sold off due to financial difficulties or one of the previous feudal lords making off with them. Furthermore, only Gray and I live in this mansion. I have no other servants. The other party is a young lady from the ducal family, who's been surrounded by dozens of servants through her childhood, with many of them being close to her to take care of her. Everything in the mansion must have been of the highest class, too. In other words, forget about treating her like a princess. I can only pray that she won't get mad due to the difference in environment. And in order to avoid being scolded, I'm decorating my mansion to make it more presentable for the visitors, even by a little bit. I wonder if she would prefer younger guys. Starry. I looked at Gray, who had brought in the dried tablecloth and was setting it on the table once again. He has beautiful medium-length gray hair, a slender body, and pale skin, catching the hearts of the older ladies of this land and the occasional visitor women with his slightly masculine-leaning androgynous appearance as my secretary/family's pretty boy. I can only hope that he catches the eye of Lady Violet Valentine. Please stop. Are you planning to turn me back into a slave? As I kept watching, Gray hit his body with the tablecloth. Is he trying to seem weirdly bashful on purpose? Come to think of it, I think that expression was popular with men. I was just thinking that it would be nice if Miss Valentine was into young boys like you, Gray. I'd rather you hope that you're the one who's her type, Lord CLO. Me being her type? That's impossible. I think I'd look a little above average if I tidied myself up and dressed up, but Miss Violet Valentine must have liked the capture target. His Highness the Third Prince Vermilion Randolph with red hair and the purple eyes characteristic of the royalty. I saw His Highness when he was around 10 years old, but even then he was so handsome, I couldn't possibly match him in any way, shape, or form. It seemed impossible to match him on the inside either. If he grew up to look the way he did in the Otome game, I'd easily be overshadowed. Anyway, when it comes to the preferences in appearance, a slender androgynous boy like Gray has a better chance. It pains me to say this myself, though. Hey, if you don't prepare properly, both your work and the reception will end up being half-hearted. Don't worry. I explained the situation to another person and left the field work to them, and I've finished the paperwork. So all that's left is the preparation. No, thinking about it, we have run out of the ingredients for the welcoming. Say that first. I can't believe I'm running into a problem like this, even though I've finished various things in advance to welcome Miss Valentine. The fault also lies with me for not realizing, but I want to believe that it happened because I was too busy. Was I too distracted by the tea? That tea isn't expensive either, though. That's not a problem because of Gray's high skills in brewing tea. Was it trying to prune the trees in the garden and write welcome? That did that too much time. Now that I think about it, I wonder what we were trying to do, Lord CLO. There's still a day until she's scheduled to arrive, so there won't be a problem if we acquire the ingredients now. That being said, neither of us is particularly good or bad at cooking, so I must gather as many high-quality ingredients as possible. Mainly condiments. I doubt we could make something that would please the palate trained at the Duke's house, but since I've decided to do it, I'll offer the best possible hospitality. Part of my intrusion, I heard a voice. That voice was dignified enough to attract any listener, and it sounded strangely clear even in this place that was full of chatter and noise. The door was open, so I selfishly took the liberty to speak first. Gray, and I looked towards the direction of the voice. At the end of my gaze was a woman with lovely long purple hair and beautiful blue eyes, standing at the door that was left open for ventilation. She was a woman with beautiful gestures, but her gaze wasn't as aggressive as I'd known, and she had a somewhat tired expression on her face. My name is Violet Valentine. Please treat me favorably from today on. Violet Valentine, the woman who had become my wife several days ago, stood there. She's already here. Chapter 3. Contrary to expectations. Forgive me for not preparing anything more lavish. Not at all, and I'd like to apologize well. It seems neither of us had the right time, which resulted in my arriving earlier than stated. Apologies once again. Violet Valentine, who had arrived 2 days ahead of schedule, appeared more composed than I'd expected, since she arrived before I could set everything up. What do you mean you have nothing prepared? To think everything would be in such a sorry state of affairs just because I arrived a few days ahead of schedule. You wretched excuse for a noble, is what I imagined she would say, but she wasn't as unreasonable and even apologized for arriving earlier. However, she seems to be under the impression that she had only arrived a few hours earlier as opposed to a few days. It looks like there was some serious miscommunication and the day in itself was mixed up. It took quite some time to cross-check the information on both sides and for each to understand the other circumstances. I had sent Gray to get things ready for the welcoming party in the meantime. Also, the long trip has made me quite exhausted, so I may not have been able to indulge in a lavish meal. So please don't let it bother you. Besides, the black tea was rather delectable. Maybe she's a better person than I thought. Not only did she not express discontent at the meal I had Gray prepare in a hurry, she even showed consideration toward us. Her brusque manner can probably be attributed to her upbringing in a ducal household. Lady Violet took another sip of the black tea and blew on it, all the while making sure to not show signs of exhaustion. Elegant would be the word to describe her behavior. The title of a noble suited Violet Valentine rather well. First of all, she was taller than average at around 165 centimeters, making her appear mature for her age. She always maintained a good posture in her dining etiquette, or even the way she brushed away a stray hair. Every single gesture was refined and bespoke of her excellent education. Her violet tresses were straight and fell down to her waist. Her pale skin was as well groomed as her hair and with no flaws, adding to her feminine tenderness. In the game, though she did lose to His Highness many times after entering the academy, she had excellent physical abilities to dare challenge him to a duel, and she also maintained a place among the top 10 in academics. Isn't she a little too overpowered? Be that as it may, she was nothing more than a plot device to facilitate the heroine's character development. Her pride started to crumble, and she ended up challenging the heroine, who was growing ever so close with the hero, to a duel. Also, was her hair supposed to be straight? Nevertheless, I didn't expect her to come alone. Even if her family has probably abandoned her, she's still the daughter of a duke. I thought she'd have many attendants and guards accompanying her. I supposed I shouldn't ask her about that. I came here by myself, and I've already sent back the carriage. It was simply too mortifying to hear. The only belongings she carried were two medium-sized bags, making it pretty easy to guess her circumstances. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm CLO Hartfield. I manage this land called Shiki, and I am a baron. It's been 4 years since I was entrusted with this position, and I'm 19. This marriage may have been hastily decided, but I shall be in your care from now on. Yes, likewise. Violet Valentine replied after a strange pause in response to my formal greeting. I wonder if she's scrutinizing me. Suddenly having become her husband, I figured she would want to observe and appraise me, so I don't really mind. And so Violet Valentine cleared her throat and proceeded to introduce herself in a dignified manner as she looked me square in the eye. She's a beauty, all right. I'm Violet Valentine. As the eldest daughter of Duke Valentine, I've had the pleasure of exchanging vows of marriage with your Lord CLO. I shall be in your care. Just now, she almost said, Your Highness. It may be the pride of a noble, for though she appeared to have resolved herself to her fate, her heart doesn't seem to have caught up yet. I suppose I should have introduced myself as Violet Hartfield, seeing as how I can't use the ducal family name any longer. Maybe she felt the conflict and loathing behind her own words, for she forced a smile despite the sad look on her face. If she had done all the things that she did in the game, then she certainly wouldn't be able to use her family name anymore. Duels, wanton behavior, the eventual fallout with the royal family resulting from breaking off the engagement. Perhaps a situation in which she should be glad she wasn't put on house arrest or forced to take her life by her father. I won't press you for details at present. When you've sorted things out and feel ready, I would like to hear about it. I greatly appreciate your consideration. She's probably exhausted, jilted by someone she loved, abandoned by her parents, tossed out of her house without so much as a single attendant, forced to accept someone she only just met as her husband. That's a lot for a 15-year-old to process. I'll have Gray draw up the bath. It might be a bit cramped, but I hope you find it relaxing. Thank you. I wonder what that pause was all about. Once again, I sense caution, or rather scrutiny behind those words. Does she not like baths? Lord CLO, may I enter? Miss Violet? Sure, come on in. The hour was late. Done with the bath. I was in my room racking my brains as to what should be done going forward when I heard a knock followed by Lady Violet's voice. Incidentally, though we are a married couple, I didn't think it would be appropriate to share a bedroom, so I had a separate room prepared for her. What did she want with me at this late hour? I was certain she had already fallen asleep, exhausted from the long trip, so the unexpected visit had me a little bewildered. I hope she hasn't come to complain that her bed was too shabby. It may have been more proper to open the door myself, but given that she wanted to enter the room, I thought it better to give her permission to do so. Anything the matter? Lady Violet's appearance had me momentarily puzzled. She was not in her less ornate, yet still finest clothing, but her nightwear. Her attire, which was probably simply underwear covered by a single layer of flimsy cloth, emphasized her femininity, which was fully in contrast with her tough image from earlier. Anything the matter, Miss Violet? I repeated after clearing my throat in an effort to gather my bearings, asking Lady Violet of her reason for the late visit. She appeared puzzled and also as if she wondered why I would ask such an obvious question. She looked down after a strange pause and spoke. What is it, really? She's giving off a totally different impression from before. Lord CLO. After a brief pause, she appeared to have made up her mind and directed such a sharp gaze at me that I felt it should be accompanied by a glint. That gaze feels nostalgic. Vague as my memories are, that sharp gaze of hers reminds me of her art from the Otome game. As abrupt as this marriage was, and though today is the first time we met each other, we are already husband and wife. That's true. I really wonder what's up. We talked about it, even at dinner. If an annulment is what she had in mind, she would have kept quiet and taken the necessary actions in secret. No, there's also the chance that she wanted to be upright with me. Though I'm personally not a fan of the idea, it isn't all that rare for nobles who don't even like each other to become couples through a marriage of convenience. That said, given that she was in love with her ex-fiancé, she may have not come to terms with this marriage. Though the marriage itself had been settled a few days prior, this is the first day we're together under the same roof. Yes. Which means it's our first night together. Yes. So, I've come to be held. All right, get a grip. Chapter 4, Take It Slow, Calm Down. Now, the heroines in Otome games often don't have big breasts. I don't know if this is actually the case or not, but it's probably to avoid emphasizing their so-called sex. It's because the female users will be less likely to dislike the story if the main heroine makes the capture targets fall in love with her not with her sexual appeal, but rather with her unique charm, cuteness, and her inner beauty. Rival characters often also don't have big breasts like the characters that appear in male-oriented dating sim games, but they tend to have a bigger chest than the protagonist. It's most likely to juxtapose the main character's inner charm with the sexual attractiveness. Please note that this is simply my humble opinion. And as for the reason why I'm pondering about this subject, it's a simple escape from my current situation. Lady Violet. After declaring that she came to sleep with me, Lady Violet took off her sleepwear, remaining only in her underwear. In this world, the stuff like lingerie from my previous life are luxury items. Many nobles wear them all the time, but commoners don't. Even with that in mind, her underwear stood out as a very expensive item. Its base color was black. The cloth was thicker in the important areas, as if to make the body look beautiful, and gradually became thinner as it moved up the body, all covered with lace. And the strings stretching from her cleavage to her shoulders seemed to be emulating a butterfly pattern by taking the fullness of her breasts in consideration. The undergarments were also a part of the outfit that accentuated Lady Violet's already very much present attractiveness. Although she's not petite and slender, her firm and well-built body has smooth curves and the line from her groin to her lower chest, which is peculiar to women, is the result of training and maintaining her body shape, making the overall balance beautiful. She also takes care of her body with magic, and she has so-called delicate white fingers. It feels as if her loveliness is overflowing from her fingers and covering her whole body and her chest. It's large and beautiful. I learned that the nicer something is, the simpler the compliments become. Personally, I find that a bigger chest in women really limits their variety in clothes, so a smaller chest is better. But it's not like I don't like bigger chests. I love them, in fact. Wait, what in the world am I analyzing calmly? This is really gross. First of all, I have to calm down Lady Violet. Otherwise, I won't be able to calm down either. In more than one way. Calm down, Lady Violet. First, get dressed, and then we'll talk things out. What are you talking about? We're a husband and a wife. So, it's not strange for us to spend the bridal night together like this. I mean, you're not wrong, but still. No, that's not what I meant. I'm not saying that if we're going to talk, it's going to be when we're in bed together. Come on, Lord CLO. Are you going to leave me be the only one dressed like this? Yeah, please don't approach me slowly. A lot of things are shaking, and I don't know where to look. No, we're married. Since we're a couple, there's no problem with me looking, and I won't be blamed for it. Gray might congratulate me with, congratulations after snorting at me, though. Certainly, there are no problems because we're a married couple. But I'm also embarrassed. You can touch me. Come on, hurry up. Her bashful expression was so adorable, I almost lost to the temptation. Her gestures that appear exactly because they're not calculated, her eyes, her breathing. She's just taking a breath, but even that sounds strangely like a loud exhalation. Don't lose, CLO. I never asked for this situate. Do you also not find me attractive, Lord CLO? Also, what's she talking about? If you're not attractive, then no woman is. Would it be impossible to play dumb like this? Do men like a woman they can protect? After all, an adorable and charming woman who always interacts with them with a smile. The charming woman Lady Violet is talking about is most likely that girl. The commoner girl who's smaller than Lady Violet, excels at alchemy magic, heroically says what she thinks is right, and treats the nobles and commoners the same way. The heroine Lady Violet was jealous because she had things Violet lacked. I don't know which route of Ring of Fire she's following through, but the fact that she married me must mean that at least His Highness likes the heroine and hates Lady Violet. I've also already turned 15 years old, and as a noble, I am well aware of the importance of the first night between married couples. In the previous era, when the nobility was strong, the wedding night was especially important. Whether it was for political purposes or not, people would often do the deed on the first night of marriage. By the way, there was also a time when people were free to cheat on their spouses all they wanted after spending the first night together. However, in this day and age, cheating is basically out of the question. There are some nobles who have things like concubines, but as long as you're married, it's generally undesirable for you to have a relationship with someone other than your partner, unless you're a royalty. I am prepared. Nevertheless, I myself don't like Lady Violet enough to make love to her, just because I've been swept away by the atmosphere. Lady Violet is serious. She's too serious and inflexible. This girl might be desperate, but she's also genuinely just trying to fulfill the teaching that a married couple should spend their first night together and offer their virginity. Family name over hatred. Teaching over humiliation. The lessons of the past exist to bring forth harmony, in order to protect the ways of the nobles. She's only acting out of obligation. Even if she were to be swept by the atmosphere now, she would probably still try to be a good wife. Rejecting the advances of a woman is a man's shame. You should not bring shame to women. I don't like that. I had a bit of a hard time in my previous life because of parents like that. Yeah, so, Lady Violet. So, I hate the current you. All right, calm down. Let's continue. Chapter 5, Obstinate. Disappear from our sight and never show your face here again. At the academy, the last word from the person I loved was one of rejection. I spared no effort to become a woman worthy of His Highness. In order to stand by his side, I needed to become strong. I didn't mind, even if it cost me my reputation, if it meant I'd be able to carry out my duties as a member of the royal family. Though, it ended with my reputation getting dragged through the mud. This is simply absurd. Killing someone like you would only make me a sinner. The day after breaking off the engagement, the words uttered by my father were devoid of even rejection. Each punishment doled out to me offhandedly were no more than announcements meant to get rid of me. Initially, it was decided that I'd be sent off to the abbey, but instead they concluded I'd be of more use by being married off to a guy called Hartfield in the country. I wasn't sure how exactly I was supposed to be of help, but I was told that all that was required of me was to become his wife, and they didn't bother to explain any further details. CLO Hartfield, the third son of Baron Hartfield. After dropping out early from Azalea Academy, he's been managing a region in the countryside. Violent, high-handed, blinded by lust, brimming with vanity, haughty, and highly envious. The rumors regarding him that I heard from the carriage driver on the way over didn't hold a single positive adjective. I'm aware rumors aren't meant to be trusted in entirety, but it still wouldn't hurt to be careful. However, he is probably who I deserve now. The likes of me. Truly deserving. I wasn't allowed an attendant. To be more precise, I'm under surveillance. As I've lost all their trust, there are many reporting my every movement. However, I was told no attendant would be accompanying me. They sent off the people who had served me since infancy on long missions that take months to complete without any intention of letting them know of my location. I suppose it was a punishment of sorts for my aides for never admonishing me, and to make sure I didn't have any allies in this region. CLO's secretary, Gray, was more sensible than I'd expected. If anything, he could even be lauded as a nice person. However, I cannot let my guard down. I'm not being swayed by the rumors, but this is my first time meeting Lord CLO. I need to ascertain his character. The first impression that Lord CLO had on me was that he didn't act like nobility at all. Tall as the average male, and with black hair. He was shorter in stature compared to His Highness, but he appeared a tad bigger, maybe by virtue of him being older. He certainly gave off the impression that he's well put together. Rather than being handsome or average in looks, he leaned more toward the plain side. His clothes appeared to be of fine quality, but after all the work done to welcome me, they were no longer tidy. To think the Lord himself would jump into the field and get his hands dirty to receive a guest. From what I've heard, there's no one else other than Gray and Lord CLO in this mansion. The mansion itself was unnecessarily excessive and built by the previous lord some generations prior. Apparently, there are wings even Lord CLO doesn't use, and without funds to hire any help, they seem to be managing things between themselves. As spacious as this mansion is, I wonder if it's appropriate for a man and a woman to have been living here, just the two of them. However, we aren't close enough for me to broach that topic. Moreover, I'm afraid of being recognized. The words I thought were just, and for the benefit of His Highness, were merely irksome to him. I can't help but think that the words I said on behalf of His Highness and the royal family were merely excuses to justify my own desires. I suppose I should have introduced myself as Violet Hartfield, seeing as how I can't use the ducal family name any longer. I am scared. The thought of losing my family name and never getting over my feelings for His Highness scares me. I can accomplish nothing with this kind of mentality. I am Baron CLO Hartfield's wife, and I need to behave with resolution befitting a baroness. I won't press you for details at present. When you've sorted things out and feel ready, I would like to hear about it. I greatly appreciate your consideration. Lord CLO, who had become my husband, didn't appear as bad as his rumors made him out to be, at least judging from his actions so far. I don't know how much Lord CLO knows about my circumstances. That said, I could see him trying to be considerate of me. I have no clue if he's being earnest, but I should be careful. I've heard that men are all beasts, that they may behave gentlemanly in public, but God knows how they are behind closed doors. I'll have Gray draw up the bath. It might be a bit cramped, but I hope you find it relaxing. I see. So he wants me to take a bath and wash up. Though the marriage itself had only been decided a few days prior, Today is our first day as man and wife. In other words, our first night. Make yourself presentable to offer your chastity to me. That's probably what he means. No, hold on. He's the kind of man with a nickname like Abnormal Cagliostro. I don't know what they mean by abnormal, but the point stands that he's a pervert. It's possible that he'd try something while I'm washing up. Thank you. Fine. I shall act as a noble should and be frank and resolute. Even if he is my husband, Tobe, I need him to get it together in the bedroom. Regardless of whether he is a pervert or a weirdo, I want my first night to be done right. Nothing happened. It was truly a refreshing bath. Gray had gotten the temperature just right, taking into consideration my tiredness from the long journey, and though the bath was a bit smaller compared to the one at the ducal mansion, it was still big enough for me to stretch my legs. There were a variety of soaps to choose from and clean towels on the rack. I feel really grateful to Gray for taking everything into consideration, but I still can't seem to figure them out. I wonder if they're on their best behavior since we only just met. I can't let my guard down. It seems Lord CLO is also taking his bath right now. It will be the right hour once he's done, and he will probably visit my quarters then. I've heard that it doesn't matter how it happens second time onwards, but the first time, you're supposed to wait for the man to visit you. Women are supposed to be sought, that we are supposed to yield whenever sought by our husbands, is what I heard from my maid, Amber. I also received education pertaining to matters of the boudoir. Phew. I breathed in and exhaled slowly. It was to release the heat in my body and also to calm down. I cannot see His Highness, who I adore, anymore. The thought itself greatly disturbed my heart, but I need to cast away these feelings for the sake of my husband. I put on the nightgown Amber got me to celebrate my coming of age. I have on the kind of underwear that I was taught appropriate for this occasion. To be honest, the nightgown is made of flimsy fabric and shows the outline of my body, even if only faintly, but it's still enough to make me feel embarrassed. But if I let something like this get to me, I won't be able to handle what will happen after. Well then, come on. I'm ready. Come at me anytime. He's not coming. I didn't realize it, but I was sitting on my bed hugging my knees. What is the meaning of this? I don't get it. Maybe he's the type to take long baths. Even so, it's probably pretty late. At this rate, tomorrow will be upon us. Is he waiting for me to come over? I see. I can't ignore that possibility. Personally, I would prefer to be visited, but I remember Creamhild, my classmate, saying if the situation calls for it, the woman should take the initiative. That it's better to initiate rather than be teased in lovemaking. I thought it immodest back then, but I suppose there's a chance that Lord CLO is teasing me on purpose. Ugh, then as embarrassing as I may find it, I shall seek him out. I should expect no less from the abnormal Cagliostro. His thinking is entirely deviated from the normal. Just you wait, Lord CLO. No matter how poorly I may be treated, even if I have to offer my chastity to Lord CLO, who I only met today, I shall give up my body and soul to be a good wife to Lord CLO. And that is what I should do as a former member of the ducal family, abandoned though I may be. Mock medieval setting. Bathtubs exist. Commoners tend to only take towel baths. Hygiene is practiced, relatively modern. Soaps are used, for the sake of an obligatory bath scenario card with carefully placed soap bubbles covering the love interest body. Bath water temperature can be regulated. Temperature can be set using magic. Chapter 6. I didn't look closely before or now. I was worrying about what to do in front of Lord CLO's room. After coming this far, I was starting to hesitate. If I opened this door, there would be no coming back. Besides, did Lord CLO even find me attractive to begin with? After all, I'm neither affable nor cute, and I can't even look His Highness straight in the eyes. But must make up my mind and enter inside. Calm down. I think I just have to look at him with upturned eyes and approach him slowly. I've also heard that I should show as much skin as possible. If I do that, men should do the rest, or so I think. I'm a noble. I must fulfill my duty, even if no one sees me. I hate the current you. That's why my head went blank when I was told this. I thought that I was prepared. Whether it was rejection or giving up my virginity, I was sure that I'd be firm. But the word hate wounded my heart way more than I had expected. I learned that some words cut deeper exactly because they're so simple. Do I lack charm as a woman, after all? That's right, let's back down. Just like when I lost the duel. If you're not wanted, just leave. Will I be able to forget this by tomorrow? Forget it, act my role, mature, train myself, polish myself. Even so, there were times when I was overtaken, but if I didn't do all this, I would fall even more. I have to make sure that I don't fall further. I must fulfill my duties as a noble. Forget about being abandoned by His Highness and the others. Act your role without showing your sadness. Mature at your job as the lady of the ducal family. Train so you can stand alongside His Highness and polish yourself, so the people around won't say that you only have your status. Do it all over from now on. For just that? My apologies, Lord CLO. Please forget about today. Lady Violet. Eminent. When I tried to leave and return to my room, Lord CLO suddenly pinched my cheeks with one hand. What? What's his purpose in holding my cheeks with his hand? One, I end up looking unsightly at this point. It's time you looked me in the eyes already. The eyes? What is he talking about so suddenly? What's wrong with Lord CLO's eye? Wait, were his eyes always blue? It's strange. I feel like I'm seeing Lord CLO's eyes for the first time. You certainly did something stupid. And Lord CLO continued talking while maintaining his posture. You intimated all the women that approached His Highness Vermilion, ignored His Highness' words, strongly struck the girl who His Highness might have liked hard, and unable to forgive that girl, you challenged her to a duel at the ball as the end of the semester, only to end up losing to His Highness and his entourage. Why does Lord CLO know that? Was he already told what I had done? Somebody who knows the details of what happened must be somebody from the academy or my father. If that's the case, why go so far? Also, you had lackeys, but you had no friends, right? How rude. I had one friend at least. Have you not declared to them to not act overly friendly with you? Why does he know? No, I don't need friends to start with. Nobles have no need for friends. They only need accomplices with aligning interests. If the easily disposable people who offer something and the people who demand something get together and manage their relationship, that's all that matters. That's how nobles are. No matter how it might look, they must do their duty. You're a haughty daughter of the Duke who borrowed His Highness' authority and discriminated against people due to their social status. And your nickname is an amethyst paper plane because you run wild on your own and also crash on your own. Hey, that's the first time I'm hearing that. What's with that? I had that kind of nickname? Or rather, what do amethyst and paper have to do with each other? Shut up. What do you even? Listen, GHPH. I want to tell him, don't talk as if you understand me. What do you even know? And move his hand away, but after avoiding me, Lord CLO made a turn and this time held my cheeks with both palms. Was that one turn really necessary? However, suddenly, Lord CLO's eyes became gentler. What is it about those eyes? They contain the feelings I'd rarely gotten before, the somewhat nostalgic feelings. Sacrificing yourself for something or someone is more painful than words can describe. Someone, something. I have worked hard for His Highness, for the ducal family, and for this country. I never doubted that it was for my own sake, because it's been drilled into me that it was the reason I was born. Then will you deny all that? Will you say that I should have worked hard for myself? That it was okay to have shown my vulnerability? Are you planning to say something so basic? How stupid and truly boring. Don't you dare spout something like that. More than that would be I. Even more so if it resulted in rejection by that someone. Please, don't say anything more. However, please don't deny the effort you have put in after coming to love them. But I see. The current me wanted to be recognized by someone. Is that all it was? What a simple, childish thing. I wanted them to tell me that my actions that came from my pride as the Duke's daughter weren't wrong. You should be proud. So don't hate yourself. I hate the current you, who hates herself. Lord CLO said, I was rejected by His Highness and the people around me, so I wanted somebody to be by my side. I was desperate and too caught up in the idea that if I had made a connection with my husband, I would not be alone. I avoided looking my partner in the eyes and might have been okay with literally anybody. Lord CLO must have seen through that. Rumors really can't be trusted. Thank you, Lord CLO. No, I'm happy if I was of some help, even a little. My cheeks were released. He was holding them pretty strongly, so I wouldn't escape, so they were tingling. Now that I think about it, this might have been the first time I was touched by the opposite sex like this. I wonder if this is what they mean when they say that they've been damaged by the man. For now, I'd like you to wear clothes. I thought I missed what Lord CLO said in a whisper, but when I saw him blushing and looking away, I remembered how I currently looked. Certainly, my current appearance is a bit. No, but today is still our wedding night. Will you make love to me? I will not. As expected, I was still rejected. Chapter 7, a former that often appears in reincarnation stories. Congratulations. Hey, stop with that face. The morning after Lady Violet's late night visit to my room, Gray congratulated me while making tea in the dining room. I'm well aware of what he's congratulating me on. The first night we spent together as a married couple. It goes without saying what might have happened. Not like anything happened on that front, though. Unfortunately, nothing you've imagined has happened. Yeah, really? It's as true as things can get. After her words of gratitude, I only engaged her in a conversation for a little while. I was worried about what to do when Lady Violet, who was tired from her long trip, nodded off while sitting. When I called out to her, she laid down on the bed. And no, it's been a long time since I've been in bed. Let me offer today, Amber, and started sleep-talking, so I panicked even more, but nothing happened. I did think that she was adorable, but that was it. I don't know who this Amber person is, but from the way Lady Violet spoke, she must have been someone close to her, so I figured she must have been really exhausted mentally to mention somebody who wasn't even here in this situation. I felt bad waking her up when she was in such a state, so I slowly carried her to her room to not wake her up. It felt like if I left her the way she was, I'd be asked if I decided to sleep with her after all. I see. It's great that you treated her nicely. Gray was praising me with a smile that was different from before. Gray often pokes fun at me, but he doesn't tease me when I act for somebody else. He's most likely genuinely congratulating me. You took advantage of her vulnerable state with kind words, didn't you? I see. So that's how you ensnare women. Next, you should aim to become a couple of lovebirds. I take my previous words back. When this guy teases me, he goes all in. Ensnare? Do I look like somebody who would do that? Unfortunately, I have my hands full with just myself. Mr. Yellow told me that telling men they've ensnared women is a compliment for them. Don't take that person's words seriously. Mr. Yellow is a cheerful grandpa who's self-proclaimed older than 80 years, self-proclaimed friend of the previous king, and a self-proclaimed love hunter. I told Gray that although some people use the term ensnaring women to mean making them fall in love, it was closer to the meaning of forcing them. That being said, I'm impressed you did not stumble over your words. She must have been unstable, the situation being what it was, but if I were in your place, it would have taken me everything just to calm her down. After hearing the meaning and showing somewhat of an embarrassed expression, Gray changed the topic. He'll probably ask Mr. Hierro later. But is he really going to ask about it? I didn't know that he's curious about it, though. It was a coincidence. My thought just happened to match the exact words Lady Violet was earning for. There's no way I can tell him that it was the result of me summoning up the memory of the Otome game from my previous life. To start with, I only remember roughly what Lady Violet did. Her actions might have been different from the actual story I know, and there are some parts that I probably remember based on my impressions. However, what I know for sure is that she self-destructed, and that she knew that her efforts were genuine. Otherwise, she would not have been able to remain as one of the top students in the academy, and she would not have learned to conduct herself the way she did. She had her strengths and faults, and I just didn't want her to be trapped in her past, unable to forget her faults. Is that how it is? Gray seemed a little puzzled by my words, but he seemed to have understood that there was no point in pursuing further and accepted my answer for the time being. Well, I doubt he'd be convinced even if I told him about my previous life and the Otome game. By the way, I have a question. As he said that, Gray clapped his hands, as if remembering something. It's about Lady Violet. Am I supposed to call her madam? If you do that, I have to be called master, huh? Gray calling me master? I'm fine with things staying as they are right now. But it's true that now that I'm married, my title will change too. In other words, our interactions until now. Master, monsters have appeared, so let's go have fun together. Master was handed flowers. Its meaning is, I love you in the language of flowers. I got it from a man, though. Would you like to take a bath together, master? I was taught how to wash you with my body like this. Huh. Suddenly not a single decent memory comes to my mind. Also, it feels extremely weird. It wouldn't be strange if he was in the position of secretary or a butler, but Gray is both my secretary and family. Gray's full name is Gray Hartfield. Originally, he had no last name, and he was treated as the slave of the previous lord. For various reasons, he was abandoned, and by the time I became the feudal lord, he was in a weakened state in this mansion. At first, he was distrustful of people and would only emptily whisper, "Master, master," while doing literally anything I asked for. In a sense, it felt like an even more weakened version of how Lady Violet was on the day she arrived. Anyway, he gradually opened up to me, and we came to treat each other the way we do now. In the process, I gave him the surname Hartfield. I guess that makes him something like my adopted child. My parents are fussy, so he's treated like a secretary, though. In other words, you would make a child call you master. Truly perverted. Stop. In terms of the years I've lived, it's not surprising that I would have a child of Gray's age, about 11 years old. And in fact, on paper, he is my child. But I'm still more or less 19 in this world. Being called a master by a child at this age is, I don't like it. Forgive me, I slept in until this late. As I was responding to Gray's jokes, Lady Violet rushed into the dining room. Although she was in a hurry, she was still well-groomed at least, which I think was very typical of her. But... Good morning, Lady Violet. By the way, please excuse me for doing this the first thing as you're up. Good morning, Lord CLO. Is something wrong? This is not the Academy. Lady Violet was dressed in the Academy's designated school uniform. Did she bring her uniform all the way here, or did it just accidentally end up in her luggage? At any rate, she still seemed to be tired. Her face was red, but she did not rush back to her room and tried to remain calm. She picked up the hem of her skirt, gave a brief bow, then went back to her room, changed her clothes in a few minutes, and came back. Good morning, Mother Violet. Yes, good more what? And Lady Violet, who had just returned, froze up at Gray's words. Chapter 8, Getting Used to It, will take more time. I see, so that's what it was. I was surprised because I was suddenly treated like a mother. I explained the details to Lady Violet, who had returned to her normal self after freezing for a few seconds while we ate a late breakfast. Lady Violet is still only 15 years old. It's not surprising that she would be shocked to be called a mother by somebody of Gray's age. On the contrary, I was worried that she would show contempt, but judging from the way she was drinking tea after the meal, that didn't seem to be the case. I thought she was so serious that she wouldn't be good with talks like this. I'm sorry about that, Gray. I did receive an explanation yesterday, but, to be honest, I only understood that you're a secretary. No, you're tired, Mistress Violet, so it is only to be expected, and it is not a problem to treat me as a secretary in public. It would not be accepted well in the society if a word got out that a barren family adopted someone like me. You're right. I will also treat you as a secretary. Thank you very much. She doesn't have to worry about that too much, though. Well, since slave trading is more or less forbidden in this country, possession is allowed, for some reason. It's true that the public wouldn't think favorably of it. Lady Violet also seems to understand that, and has decided to treat Gray as a secretary. But I'm still surprised. Although the matter of him being a slave is a secret, Lady Violet, who's fussy about social status, didn't say anything about adoption, even if she wasn't herself yesterday. Wait, now that I think about it, I feel like there was a slave character in Ring of Fire too. I wonder who it was. But, I see, there is no change in me being a mother. Wait, Lady Violet. Okay, Gray, my child. Outside of social gatherings, you may address me as your mother. Which variation of mother should I use? Nobles would use a more respectful or a formal name. I've also heard of your ladyship being used. It sounds noble somehow. Wait, how serious are these two? No, at least Lady Violet is serious. She seriously thinks that her child is really her child, whether they're adopted or not. I've been thinking about this since yesterday, but maybe this person isn't an overly serious and arrogant noble lady, but rather a natural airhead. Maybe I just misunderstood her because of her villainous reputation, and she's actually just a sheltered noble lady who's easily influenced. Calm down, Lady Violet. You're not mistaken, but you're still not right. Lord CLO, I was just reflecting on how inflexible I have been until now. I should try to become more flexible. That doesn't mean you should accept everything. In the end, I still stayed as Lord CLO, and Lady Violet ended up being called Mistress Violet. It seems like it will be a long time before Lady Violet's flexibility is honed. After eating breakfast and drinking the after-meal tea, Gray, Lady Violet, and I went outside to do the work of the feudal lord. At first, I thought it would be nice to show her around the land while introducing her to the residents, but I had some urgent business, so I decided to take care of that first. I was going to give her a tour in the afternoon, so I thought I'd have her wait at the butt. As a wife, I want to have a good understanding of my husband's work, and I also want to help, she declared, so I couldn't refuse her. For the time being, she would be observing for a while and then help with simple things. Lady Violet wore clothes that were comfortable for going out, but she was dressed in the kind of black clothes that you would expect to wear when going outside in the city. Gray and I were also dressed the same way, though. By the way, Lord CLO, there's something I would like to ask you. What's wrong? Then Lady Violet questioned me and Gray as soon as we arrived at the workplace. When I looked at her, she looked sincerely curious. She was probably curious about what we were carrying and the place we were at. I heard that there was an urgent job for the Lord. Yes, it's urgent. I'm sorry, I forgot to ask what it was about. May I ask about the details? Come to think of it, I only said that it was urgent but didn't mention the details. Gray and I probably had some difficulty saying it, but as long as she's helping, we have to explain it to her. We're farming. We are farming. I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself? Yes, we'll be plowing fields with a hoe. Yes. A what? Is this really the feudal lord's job? On a miraculously hot day, Gray and I were plowing the fields. In this world, due to the wondrous power of magic, the harvesting season and cultivation methods for vegetables and other crops are often different compared to my previous life, but it's still necessary to till and fertilize the soil to sow seeds. It can't be helped, Mr. Green hurt his back. Yes, it seems that if we don't plant them this morning, the harvest will be delayed. No, I get it, but still. Lady Violet was bewildered. The work of a feudal lord varies greatly. They manage local products and maintain the housing environment. Sometimes they mediate disputes among residents, and when monsters appear, they may request help from outside or exterminate the monsters themselves. It's not surprising for barons and viscounts to cultivate the fields with their own hands. Although there are times when paperwork and contributions to the country are a headache, the feudal lord job is basically to protect the daily lives of the residents and to aim for development. Do you have any experience with this kind of work, Lady Violet? I've been taught by my father that this is not the kind of work we should do. I've honestly never even touched the soil except as material used for classes. Oh, there are certainly people like that in the royal capital. In addition, as a daughter of the ducal family, she wouldn't even think about playing with dirt. This might be a strange sight for Lady Violet, whose family is more involved with work like management and negotiation. Come to think of it, I seem to recall a scene in which the heroine touches soil normally as an alchemy material. His Highness helps her, and when Lady Violet sees him covered in dirt, she admonishes the heroine. Maybe she does not have a good image of playing with dirt. But here in Shiki, things are more troublesome. Today was still a normal work day due to Mr. Green's physical condition, so I thought Lady Violet would have been fine as well, but maybe it would have been better to have her stay at the mansion and mention it to her casually when showing her around. Lady Violet, please rest in the shade of the tree. It's hard to do it all of a sudden when you've never even held hoe before. I'll take you up on your offer. I like to take a look around, but I can't just wander around on my own. While looking at the soil, Lady Violet moved to the shade of a nearby tree without trying to touch it until the end. And she just stared at me without even trying to sit at the base of the tree. Is she really trying to learn? Or does she have something on her mind when looking at me? I think it will take some time for her to get used to it. I just hope she won't give up on me by then. Gray and I plowed the field while holding our own hoes. During that time, I was really being watched. It's hard to work like this. Chapter 9, Grow Athletic Naturally. Shiki, the region I'm in charge of, is in the countryside and a little peculiar, in that it houses a slumbering sealed monster. Natural disasters rarely occur, and its inhabitants themselves are rather unusual. Half of the population consists of people native to the land, with most of them being seniors, and the other half are screw-ups who did something in the past and were banished here. For example, the place we're headed to at the moment is one such place. Lady Violet. Shiki has only one priest and one sister. The priest isn't present today. I see. The location was the church. It was a very conspicuous structure near Mr. Green's field, and as it had caught Lady Violet's eye, I decided to show her around. Though Shiki may be in the countryside, it has a church of the national religion. Looking as impressive as my own mansion, I'm told it was once a place where a lot of people of faith gathered, but it now houses only 2 people. The reasons being the decline in population and the land depreciating in value. There are all manner of residents in Shiki. Most of them are original inhabitants of the land, and I may have no right to say this, but the rest are people who have made mistakes in the past, is what you're trying to say. There's no need to stand on ceremony for my sake. Mistakes. She's being considerate as well by putting it that way. Yes, Shiki is a place that many who are driven away from the city drift into. They aren't people who committed serious crimes like murder, but people who fall under. Establishing proof of their crime is a pain, but their existence itself is even more of a pain, or any move from them spells trouble, and so on. Which means this church has people who violated the doctrine or embezzled donations. Is that right? Well, why don't we meet them first? Though I'd prefer if you keep in mind that everyone has a history. If you say, so Lord Cielo, wait, why are you in guard? You'll find out very soon. I asked Gray to move Lady Violet away from the door and gave him instructions to protect her in a way no harm befalls her. I breathed in. I steeled by resolve and opened the church door. You Blackheart traitor. Lord Cielo. I deftly dodged the dropkick from the sister, who leapt at me the moment I opened the door. I heard noises of activity inside, so I took precautions just in case, but as I thought she really came at me with a kick. Still, the sister spun midair, touched the ground, and yelled, pushed herself off the ground with just the strength of one arm, and pulled off a clear landing. To think you'd dodge a kick from a servant of God. You'll be subject to divine retribution, CLO. And I wonder if it's fine for a so-called servant of God to dropkick someone out of the blue. Good morning, Sister Cyan. It's always a pleasure to see you in high spirits. Oh, morning, Gray. You're as pretty as ever. Thank you. However, the person in question didn't seem bothered in the least and was busy greeting Gray. Though I am used to it, she never stops marching to the beat of her own drum. What did you mean by calling me a traitor, Cyan? Cyan Sears. With deep blue hair and aqua eyes, she was the only sister in Shiki. Clad in habit, very similar to the black gown worn in the world of my previous life. She didn't have the hood on, her hair fell to her shoulders, and there was rather a big slit in the skirt. A bit shorter than Lady Violet, with relatively toned muscles and good athletic abilities, she was a warrior sister. Incidentally, there aren't many of them in existence. What's with that? This guy has no clue, sort of laugh. All thanks to you. I've had Gray laugh at me similarly at times. Just then, Cyan pointed a finger at me, as if to say, let me clue you in, and proceeded to speak. You got married without consulting me and the priest. Of course that makes you a traitor. Like I care. Say that after you managed to seduce the priest at least once. Whoa, so you're the rumored bride. She ran away after being cornered. She's still weak when it comes to the priest. I mean, she should know how I'd respond, but she still starts off so aggressively. I suppose the reason is because she knows I can take it. You're much too beautiful for CLO. If you hold a marriage ceremony, I'll be there to offer you my blessings. Ah, thank you. I'm Cyan Sears. I'm a sister of this church. I look forward to getting to know you. Yes, likewise. Ah, I'm Violet. Then Io it is. I'm in your care. Io. Ah, Lady Violet is getting caught up in Cyan's pace. She's probably not had anyone of this personality type around her before. She must be doing her best just to keep up. All right then, I'm about to go and hand over some poultice to Mr. Green. See you later. Saying so, Cyan left the place, carrying nothing in hand. Don't tell me she was waiting just to land a dropkick on me. As it happens, when Cyan leaves the church unattended, there's no one else to look after the place, but it's never locked. It may look like a security risk, but everyone is used to it, and there's been no incident so far. Lady Violet, you seem to have a lot on your mind. Is anything wrong? After Cyan, the storm had left, Violet stood bewildered looking in the direction of her exit. Oh, that sister just now. Ms. Cyan, her attire was different from usual, was it not? It would appear so. I'm not acquainted with any other sisters, so I can't quite comment on that, milady. Ah, I can guess what Lady Violet wants to say. Even if it wasn't against the doctrine, there must be quite a number of inconveniences to dressing that way. As I understand, with the exception of parishioners, doctrine states that members of the clergy like priests and such, excluding a few, are to not wear under. No, I'm probably mistaken. If not, she wouldn't be able to move about in that manner. Ah, I see. Lady Violet, I dare say you're right. The inconveniences that come with such clothes. Though I do know the answer to that question, I find it difficult to open my mouth. Come to think of it, Violet could have also ended up that way. My imagination took a weird turn. I ended up recalling what happened last night. Members of the clergy are prohibited from wearing undergarments, so Ms. Cyan is also not wearing any. Ah, Lady Violet looked in the direction Cyan left, unable to accept what she had just heard. There are many such people with different kinds of mindset living here. I wonder if she will be all right. Chapter 10, full of unique diversity. Are you all right, Lady Violet? Yeah, I'm fine. Having arrived at the mansion, Lady Violet felt dizzy, after which she sat down on the nearby chair, put her right palm to her forehead, and tiredly closed her eyes. After visiting the church, I showed her around various places in Shiki, and during that time we met a lot of people who congratulated us, along with various kinds of troublemakers. Tea or coffee? Which one would you prefer? Tea, please. Here you go then. Please feel free to add sugar yourself. I brought 1 cup of tea and coffee each and handed over the tea. I put sugar and cream in my coffee and took a sip. Yeah, it looks like it'll take a while until I can brew it like Gray. It's serviceable, but when I compare myself to Gray, as expected, I'm bad at brewing it. Lady Violet drank the coffee as I handed it over, without adding anything to it, and after seemingly finding it slightly bitter, she added sugar. However, that bitterness seemed to have distracted her somewhat. Then, after a small inaudible sigh, she started mumbling towards nobody in particular. One person wearing a black mage's robe congratulated me while laughing strangely. Another one told me to come to him if I was ever injured, promising to heal me after observing my injury. Then there was that person who proposed to me on our first meeting, and another person who bombarded me with incomprehensible jargon out of nowhere. Not to mention, there's that matter of Ms. Cyan punching the Archbishop. No, I shouldn't make judgments so easily. They are all unique people. I mustn't badmouth the people of the fief. You don't have to push yourself. The problem wasn't in Cyan's behavior, but rather in the fact that she punched the Archbishop and sent him flying. There is Orchid, who is obsessed with black magic. In addition, while his appearance and actions are suspicious, he's a relatively good person. There is also Ivory, who loves healing injuries. So much so that he gets excited during the process and almost got expelled from the medical field. He's an excellent doctor who's reluctantly staying here because he cannot return to the city until several years have passed. There is Kaki. He came to Shiki because he got involved with too many women. He's an idiot, but he's not a bad person. If the other person refuses his advances, he pulls back respectfully. There's also Apricot, who is just a delusional edgelord, so there's no problem if you just leave him alone. Although, he can actually use magic, so he's a relatively troublesome type of an edgelord with actual ability. Anyway, Lady Violet met many problematic people. It's not surprising she would be tired after being surrounded by many unique people. The capture targets she must have been close with at the academy must have been very unique too, but they're probably on a different end of the spectrum. Also, what was that strange human-shaped lump of metal? It's robot. It's very popular with children. No, it was definitely not something you could write off with just that. Rather, what's a robot? A robot is a robot. There is a person inside, but he's just shy. He's a robot who's very popular with the elderly in town when carrying heavy loads or cutting down trees. His real name is Blonde, but he's a robot. By the way, in this world, machines are lost technology. It seems that the logic of how they work hasn't been deciphered. Come to think of it, it's already so late. Lady Violet, I'm going to cook dinner. So, do you have any requests? We've received many things, so I should be able to accommodate you to some extent. Looking at the time, it was 6 p.m. It will be a little late if I start preparing dinner now, but if I don't make it, we won't be able to eat at all. I finished drinking my coffee and headed towards the kitchen where I had Gray bring all the vegetable and meat I'd received as a wedding gift. Something that's easy to... Wait, you're making it, Lord CLO? Yes, Gray isn't here, and it's my turn today. By the way, Gray is now to return all the energizing food to Kaki, who secretly snuck them in. I'm going to punch him the next time I see him. There is nobody else who can cook, right? I heard that it was just you two. It's natural for the commoners to cook, but nobles don't cook much. Even for barons, it's common to hire somebody to cook, and those who cook are commonly not treated well. It's different for royal palace chefs, but for nobles they're seen as just servant-a. But in this mansion, Gray and I take turns to cook. Since I have the commoner sense of the 21st century ingrained in me, I didn't really fit in with the values of not cooking. Thanks to that, my parents didn't look at me well, though. Anyway, something easy to eat was it. I was given some beefsteak plant, okra, and myoga, so I can mix them with tomatoes and make a salad. I don't know if it'll fit Lady Violet's taste, but I'll make it as delicious as possible. To be honest, with my cooking skills, I can only make it palatable, but the vegetables of Shiki are delicious, so it'll be fine. It should be fine. Lord CLO. Yes. As I was choosing which vegetables to use today, Lady Violet, who had finished drinking tea and put the cup on the table, spoke to me. I was about to stop what I was doing, but I was told it was fine to continue. So although it was rude, we continued while I was preparing food. This so-called Shiki is a strange place. I agree. Are you not going to deny it? Rather than strange, I think it's unusual. That being said, everybody is weird and strange in their own ways. I've heard such a saying before, so it would be meaningless to deny it. But what do you mean by strange? No, I'm not sure how to say it. What I mean by strange is there are some unique residents, but you don't have to push yourself. You can just say that they're strange people. Most of the citizens of the fief congratulated us on our marriage. It's strange. It's not like I'd done anything. I haven't been congratulated by people like this since my engagement with His Highness was decided. Lady Violet muttered somewhat sadly, but perhaps thinking that she had said something bad, she immediately shook her head and tried to change her mood. No, I beg your pardon. Anyway, I've heard all sorts of rumors, but I don't think it's a bad place. You don't have to push yourself. I don't think that's what the Lord should say, Lord CLO. I also don't think it's a bad place now, and it can even be called a good place. But I also think that it'll take her some time to get used to it. There are all kinds of people here. It's really... Is she remembering something else now? I like to think this isn't the case, but it would be nice if meeting many people didn't remind her of what happened in the academy, and it's not because she wants to avoid the repetition of that. She's telling herself that this is a good place. As I was worrying about what to say, Gray returned to the mansion. Wait a minute. Gray should have gone to return that. So why is he back with more luggage? No, the size is different, so it should be something else. Lord CLO, after I returned food to Lord Khaki, I was given something else in return. What should I do with this? Throw it away. I could tell it wouldn't be anything decent even before looking at it. He really needs a beating. Lord CLO, you mustn't disregard somebody's goodwill. It's a celebratory gift, so it's too cruel to throw it away without looking at it. What's this, a book? The cover has been painted over. What could it be? That's right. I was told to open it only after I got home, so I also don't know what's inside. I was told it was perfect for the newlyweds' night. I stopped cooking and stole the book from the two. All right, time to go and punch him. Chapter 11, Human Observation. 3 weeks have passed since I came to Shiki. There are many inconveniences compared to when I was in Azalea Academy, like things being harder to obtain or the means of transportation being limited, but I've been getting used to it little by little. Lord CLO and Gray are also taking good care of me. They help me with everyday tasks, so I'm not dissatisfied with my life here, teach me things I don't know about, and help me gain more experience little by little. They pay attention, so I won't push myself too much, but it's not like they won't let me do anything at all. They check on me first, and then assign me some tasks. Though when I occasionally say something to denounce His Highness, they can't help but shrink back. I've also learned a lot about people here in those last 3 weeks. First, Gray. She's a girl who excels in the magic aptitude for all attributes. Currently, she's our adopted child/secretary, but I've heard from her that she's a former slave. It seems that the former Lord of Shiki was a terrible person who kept multiple slaves to satisfy his greed, neglected his duties, and was hated by the locals. Therein, Gray was discarded when Lord CLO became the next lord because she was too skinny and useless. Even just listening to it made my blood boil. But when I asked her why she decided to reveal the matter of her being a former slave, when I'd never find out if she never told me. The fact that I was a slave will not change. Even if I'm discriminated against because of it, I will accept it and keep spending my life with a smile. That's what she said. To be honest, I'm having trouble deciding how to treat Gray. I understand that Gray doesn't want to keep secrets from me, who's technically her mother. However, she's basically a commoner who has neither distinguished herself in war nor made any contributions to the kingdom. At the academy, I completely disavowed the actions of that woman who became close to His Highness due to their difference in status. Will I be able to see Gray not just as a secretary, but rather as a family? I do know that she's not a bad girl, though. Here I come. This is a direct transmission from Lord Apricot. My wrath, freed from the oppression. Awaken thy fire, O turning wheels. Mow the grass normally. Yeah, I know that she's not a bad girl, but we have to do something about the way she's so easily influenced. Next is Ms. Cyan. From what I've heard, she's a year younger than Lord CLO and used to work as a sister in the royal capital. It seems that she ended up coming here after punching the Archbishop because she didn't like him. I'm surprised she wasn't executed. She's the kind of a person who lives at full speed, just like my classmate Creamhild. She has magic aptitude for water, and she has a relatively high amount of mana. However, she doesn't seem to like using magic herself. When I asked her for the reason, because it's faster to just punch them than to make a mess. That was her answer. Her physical abilities certainly not only rival those of His Highness or his friend Chartreuse, it might even surpass theirs. But when I asked her if that was all right for a nun, if I, as a person full of faith, am saying that it's fine, God will let it go too. She said with a nice smile, I think it's probably not good, but if push comes to shove, Priest Snow White will settle things, so it should be fine. If I don't convince myself like that, the image I have of sisters will crumble down. Would I have spent time with people like this if I had been put into the monastery? However, while it may be rude to say that this was unexpected, Cyan was wrapped in a mysterious atmosphere whenever she was praying. There are many other odd, unique people but the one I don't understand the most is Lord CLO. Leaving aside people who are plain incomprehensible, Lord CLO is somebody I still don't quite understand well. Although he has excellent physical abilities, he does not have much mana for a noble. In fact, he has very little. Also, Lord CLO isn't very noble-like. He cooks his own food and he sews his own clothes. According to him, he does sewing as a hobby. It may be that he's trying to put himself in the shoes of the commoners to build a good relationship with them, but I didn't see much of the conduct of the nobles that I'd learned in his actions. If you ask me whether I'm dissatisfied or not, I would say that I am dissatisfied. The nobles must act as exemplary models for the society. At least he doesn't act in the way of the nobles as I know it. Lord CLO, he didn't discriminate against me and even gave me his family name when I didn't trust him at first. He is somebody I'm greatly indebted to. Huh, he isn't noble-like? Yes, that's why I treat him casually sometimes. CLO, he says weird things sometimes, but he's not a bad person. But yeah, he's not noble-like. That's what makes him good, though. Also, he can survive even if I hit him seriously, so I can fight him without holding back. Dear CLO, unlike the previous lord, he's a caring boy. He's about the same age as my grandchild, but I'm still indebted to him in various ways. Nah, I'm not letting that pass through, Green. That's Iran. CLO, you ask? He's a man of many stories. More importantly, what do you think about coming under me and being held if you guys are longer married? Ha, CLO, he's a good person who even accepted someone like me. Work is calling. I'm going to save the sea god for a moment. Well then, taking off. Lord CLO is loved by his citizens. Even though it's only been 3 years since he took over as the Lord, and he's only 4 years older than me. Lord CLO certainly has a strange side to him. Sometimes he'll guess right all the things I'd done at the academy, and sometimes he looks more mature than his age, though he's often childish. I wonder, what's the way of nobles that I know and have learned to aim for until now? Lord CLO differs greatly from what I've learned about how nobles should act. If I had to say, he acts more like that girl, treating everybody equally. However, if Lord CLO is loved, maybe His Highness was attracted to her, because that's what nobles actually seek. Milady. And, while I was worried, the one who suddenly stood in front of me was a woman who I didn't know well and who was wrapped in a somewhat colder atmosphere than the residents of Shiki. But I know why she's come here. There aren't many reasons why somebody, whose purpose is spying on me, would stand in front of me. I have a message from the master. Do not cut loose. That is all. I know. He only has your best interests in mind, milady. Please understand. Yeah, I know. I'm well aware that my father doesn't care about me. However, I don't know what he will do if his watchdog judges that my noble demeanor isn't up to an acceptable standard. I also understand that keeping up that act would never help me become as beloved a figure as Lord CLO. Chapter 12, Doubt and Confusion. Monster attacks, does that happen a lot here? Well, it's neither too frequent nor too rare. At the forest a little removed from Shiki, Lady Violet and I were marching through the forest while keeping a wary eye out. The reason for this outing was a monster attack in one of the farms somewhere that happened this morning. Monster attacks weren't unusual in Shiki. They rarely attack humans, maybe because they are aware that they would be actively hunted down if they ever did, but instead descend the mountain and destroy produce in search of food. That said, the incident this time was a bit peculiar. I've never seen such footprints before. Me neither. The footprints left behind by the monster this time belonged to an unidentified kind. If it were of a new species and not local, the countermeasures that need to be taken will also vary. That's why I requested Cyan and Priest Snow White to guard the town for the time being. I wish Robot were here at times like these. He takes off somewhere now and then. He said something about saving the sea god before running off yesterday. Really? Then he probably won't be back for a few days. Judging from your reaction, this doesn't look like the first time something like this has happened. We'd have more firepower on our side with Robot, but it can't be helped if he's gone off to save the sea god. To be honest, I don't know much about the sea god and whatnot, but he mentioned it was for peace, so I suppose it's important. Anyway, That's why people capable of fighting have split up into groups and are sweeping the area. Since it's rather dangerous, I wanted Lady Violet to stay with the rest of the townspeople, but she volunteered, saying she should participate all the more if so. While I was wondering if this was the right choice, I had to remind myself that she had way better command of magic than me. I've yet to see her put that power to practical use in a fight, but I'm sure her magic is stronger than mine. That said, since she was still unfamiliar with the territory, she had to team up with me to take part in the hunt. Probably because of the rain yesterday, the ground is squishy here and there. We need to be careful where we step. Yes, it's much easier to lose your balance than you think, so please watch out. It's been 3 weeks since Lady Violet arrived in Shiki. At first, she was a little lost and unfamiliar with the lifestyle here, but she has been unexpectedly proactive when it comes to helping out with my job or mingling with the townspeople. I feel like she hasn't quite accepted the townspeople into her fold yet, but she's exceeded my expectations with how fast she has accustomed to the lifestyle in Shiki. In fact, her wanting to join us in the hunt this time is also further proof of that. Just that, she's much different from the image I had of her. By the way, do you have any experience fighting in such an environment? I've had some training navigating through terrain with poor footing in the academy, but it was specifically maintained that way for training purposes. All right, the spot that's a little removed from the academy. I've seen many event cards related to that. I remember event cards with scenarios like poor footing tripping up the love interest, hero, and impinning down the protagonist, heroine, or conversely, the heroine tipping over and the hero embracing her to stop her fall. In short, it was a pretty convenient place, perfect for events to happen. Anyway, like I mentioned before, I've never actually had to walk anywhere. I've grown used to it to an extent, but I apologize if I cause you any trouble. That's all right. Everyone starts somewhere. Partners exist to support each other. Sorry and thanks. No offense, but Lady Violet is a lot more honest than I expected. She doesn't treat all townspeople equally, but if she doesn't understand anything, she asks right away and helps around proactively. Even when it comes to cooking, after learning from me and Gray, she's able to handle a lot of it by herself, albeit slowly. As her stats were already crazy to begin with, she picks things up quickly. Though she hasn't fully accustomed to life in the country, which is no different from a commoner's, she's still making an effort to adapt. As I'm a noble more or less, and also her husband, I have a better standing than the heroine who is a commoner, but maybe I'm just seeing sides of her that I didn't know of. Eek! The ground is slushy. Are you all right? Lady Violet, that ivy can't support your weight. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Lord CLO. You really saved me. Not at all. I'm glad you're not hurt. I caught Lady Violet as she tripped, for which she thanked me. Maybe it's just a matter of course, but it clashes with the image of her in my head. When I held her for a moment, she felt so soft. No, stop with the weird thoughts. Just focus on the hunt right now. Let's just set aside the fact that Lady Violet is incomparably soft and different from my expectations for later. Let's also not think of words like squishy or soft. Lord CLO. Shush. I wasn't thinking about anything. What? Oops, my mistake. This isn't the time to be making weird responses. Looks like Lady Violet sensed something. I switched gears, stood still, and strained my ears to get a feel of our surroundings. Water? Yes, it seems to be. Upon trying to pick up sound from around, what we heard wasn't the sound of nature or that of small animals, but the sound of water. However, there isn't supposed to be a river in the vicinity. I wonder if the monsters are playing around in puddles. But it sounds too loud for that. If it's a group of monsters, we should retreat after checking them out. It's better to not pursue them. Understood. I'll cast spells to erase our scents and hide our presence just in case. Don't stray too far from me. We whispered to each other, and Lady Violet used space preservation, magic that erases our scent within a certain perimeter, among other things, and perception obstruction magic that hides our presence though it doesn't fully conceal us. Though basic magic they may be, the fact that she could easily cast 2 different kinds of spells simultaneously made me feel a bit envious, because I wouldn't be able to do it as swiftly. Anyway, as stealthily as possible, we made our way to the source of the noise. I took one step forward at a time as I shielded Lady Violet. A woman's voice? Though I meant to stay quiet, hearing the voice made me speak out involuntarily. Yes, what we heard was a woman's voice. Don't tell me she's being attacked. Let's hurry. It could be a lost traveler under attack. Ah, naturally, we transition from a walk to a run. If she's being attacked, we need to rescue her. However, if there's a group of monsters, rushing in recklessly would only make things more dangerous. Calm down. I quickly made my way towards the source of the voice. For some reason, it felt strangely hot, but I had no time to entertain that thought. Finally, we reached a clearing while following the direction of the voice. And there, beauty, beauty, beauty. Good job, my children. Let me convey my gratitude to this place, to this hot spring. Come on, let's jump in. Rough, rough. Oh, I see. I see. You guys also want to sing praises of my beauty. There, we saw a pervert go into the hot springs with monsters and strike poses in the nude. The woman assumed poses in succession one would typically see in works of art and demanded approval of her beauty from the monsters. What can I say? I'm lost for words. Does this happen a lot here? God forbid. Chapter 13, Abrupt Encounter. That woman was truly a pervert. While it's natural to be unclothed in a hot spring, I have no idea why there's a hot spring in such a place. What's unusual was to share it with monsters. Well, maybe I could let it slide if they were the harmless kind, but still no one would pose for the monsters or flaunt their naked body as they engage in a conversation with them. Hoo-hoo, my body with golden proportions is always magnificent. Ever since we got to the countryside, I wasn't able to clean and polish this gem of a body. But who would have thought we'd come across a hot spring? I shall take it as proof that the world wants to extol my beauty. Not to mention, she keeps saying strange things to herself very loudly. Not that I care, but I wonder why bother striking poses? I wonder if the monsters that look like dark wolves that aren't local to this region really comprehend the intention behind all of her poses. It's true that she has well-proportioned curves, and I understand her need to sing praises of its magnificence. She also has long, beautiful black hair and lovely red eyes. She certainly is a woman befitting of the word beauty. I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. Lord CLO, I understand your curiosity regarding the female anatomy as a man. That said, I don't think it appropriate for you to stare so openly. Forgive me, Lady Violet. Please don't look at me so coldly. I would be lying if I said the female body doesn't interest me, and though I'm also looking because I find her familiar for some reason, I suppose I can't change my nature as long as I'm a man. If I may, I'd say your body is much more magnificent. Why, I wasn't fishing for compliments, but I know I'm the one that said it, but it wasn't a very appropriate statement. However, I was stating the truth. But I have to say the pervert's physique is really straightforward to make clothes for. I don't mind you being enchanted by my body, but how about you stop hiding and look openly? Oh shit, it's bad enough that we were spotted by the pervert, but it's even worse that the monsters have also realized our presence. I have no idea what kind of person this pervert is, but judging by how she went into the hot spring with the monsters, it's possible that she's their master. If she is a monster tamer by any chance, this could be dangerous. The ultimate art requires a creator and an audience, as that is when it truly comes into being. To enhance the value of this piece of art, come out. Look all you want. Out in the open. Rough. Rough. See, even my children feel the same way. I don't know. I'm starting to feel stupid for being wary. Anyway, I signaled Lady Violet with my eyes, and after establishing an escape route, the magic was dispelled. We got out of the thicket to stand in front of the pervert. Oh, a couple of young art enthusiasts. That's swell. Both of you can witness the work of art that I am. As a token of gratitude for meeting in a remote place like this, you can appreciate all you want free of charge. Consider yourselves fortunate. Saying so, the pervert made no effort to cover herself, but proceeded to strike more poses. Yes, we have our fair share of weirdos and shiki, but I've yet to come across one of this kind. I feel like she'd get along well with the lust demon, Kaki. Sorry, But do you mind if I ask you a question? HM, what would that be? I wonder if Lady Violet felt secondhand embarrassment for the pervert as a fellow woman, for her face was a bit flushed as she made her query. By the way, I averted my gaze so as to not look at the pervert unless absolutely necessary. Don't you feel any shame? A very valid question. There is no part of my body that I'm ashamed of. Where's the need to cover myself? Oh no, she's cool. I feel like I'm seeing a halo behind this oddball pervert. Ah, are you two lovers by any chance? Sorry if that's the case. Are you worried that he would compare this work of art to your body? You have nothing to worry about. You can make up for that with love. That said, I'm not sure if any love can rival this artwork. There. I try to calm Lady Violet down. What's up with this pervert? I like her confidence, but she keeps hurling insults that are sure to annoy even the ever-earnest Lady Violet. Maybe it's better if I got some details out of her as the Lord and leave quickly. First off, should I ask her the reason for soaking in the hot spring with the monsters? No, I guess I should reveal my identity first. A pleasure to meet you. I'm CLO Hartfield. I'm the lord of this domain called Shiki. Forgive me, but could I ask for your name? Once more, I put on a business smile and face the pervert. I can't avoid her body coming into my line of sight. She doesn't seem to want to cover up either. The position of domain lord is pretty handy in situations like these. It's very likely that the other person could doubt my identity, but it conveys that I hold a certain degree of authority, making it difficult for them to act carelessly while making it easier for me to ask questions regardless of the veracity of their responses. Oh, so you're the Lord. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself sooner. As you can see, I'm a traveler. No, I can't see that. Schwartz is the name. Schwartz? Wasn't that the name of a character that came up in that Otome game, Ring of Fire? If I'm not mistaken, depending on a route taken, the heroine and her could end up enemies. Ah, but you're just the man I wanted to see. It must be fate that brought us together. If you're really the Lord, then that saves me a lot of time. Right, depending on the choices made, it can lead straight to a bad ending. Could I trouble you to help me find some lodging? She's the character that kills the hero. Chapter 14, Fun and Games. Shiki. I and Gray were helping Ms. Schwartz find suitable lodging. There are mainly 3 places that offer accommodations in Shiki. The Tavern / Guild, called Rainbow, the church, and the mansion of the Domain Lord, which would be mine. Usually I'd recommend Rainbow, where you can get 3 square meals a day and have a leisurely stay, but if the guest dislikes commotion and is indifferent towards religion, then I'd recommend the church. And when either is no good, or if the guest is someone of elevated status, then I'd suggest they stay at my mansion. Given that Miss Schwartz wasn't averse to a boisterous atmosphere and had planned to stay for a week, I proposed she stay at Rainbow. I do apologize. Looks like my children caused much trouble. And once I explained the reason why we were in the forest back then, Ms. Schwartz, carrying a shoulder bag that looked like a guitar case, apologized, looking very sorry. Side note, she was wearing proper clothes this time. Tapered pants as black as her hair, a comfy blazer in the same shade of black, under which she had on a white shirt. She also had on a pair of black industrial gloves, making her body covered to the full extent possible. And yet, upon inquiring why she was showing off back then, the value of an artwork goes up in value precisely because it's not observed often. Feeling relieved that she wouldn't be flashing anyone in Shiki made me briefly entertain the idea that she might be nice, before catching myself and realizing that someone who brazenly shows off their naked body in public is not normal after all, so I settled on labeling her down as a pervert with rules. Are you a monster tamer, Miss Schwartz? Not really. I've just been able to communicate with what people call monsters ever since I can remember. I met those guys while traveling, and they ended up tagging along, which led to them straying from their habitat and running off. Monster tamers are basically people who can have monsters do their bidding. Among them, there are those capable of forming emotional bonds with monsters, but in Ms. Schwartz's case, she only seems to be able to communicate with them and doesn't have any under her control. She refers to them as my children, simply because she tends to refer to all monsters that follow her that way. Though I know that there's a hint of truth and deception in that statement. That said, I do want to apologize to the victims and remunerate them appropriately. Could I trouble you to help me with that? That's all right. Don't let it bother you. I would acquiesce if the attack had been intentional, but it appears it was merely a coincidence. The monster disturbance this time was not spearheaded by Ms. Schwartz, but simply the actions of the monsters that apparently followed her. It didn't result in casualties, and the monsters that were in the hot spring with her also went back to their habitat after being urged to do so by Ms. Schwartz. I couldn't possibly not do anything. All of this happened because I doted on them. It wouldn't be beautiful to take advantage of your kindness, turn a blind eye and go about my way. Though she does have a weird side to her, she seems to be earnest at heart. Had Lady Violet witnessed this side of her, she may not have tried to avoid her by saying, "You'll have to excuse me. I have to meet the victims and explain the situation. Then I'll have Gray show you around Shiki tomorrow." It's rather late now, and though Lady Violet has cleared things up earlier, I still need to provide a short explanation of the events to the townspeople myself. All right, let's do that. Sorry, and I'll be counting on you. Truth be told, Miss Schwartz can't be trusted. The reason being, she's something akin to an assassin in the Otome game, Ring of Fire, and depending on how things pan out, she ends up killing the hero. She's briefly introduced at the start of the game, and depending on the route, she's the mysterious character who re-enters the game sometime in the middle. Sorry, but I'm just doing my job. Resent me if you want. That should lighten the load on you? She'd say stuff like that while cornering the protagonist and her troop. Depending on the route, she could also become an ally, but the fact remains that fundamentally, she's a threat, a woman who would do anything from investigation to assassination in exchange for money. I did get the feeling that she was narcissistic, but I never imagined that she'd be this big a pervert. Now, how shall I proceed? I'd be glad if it ends up being nothing but groundless apprehension. However, if her arriving in Shiki wasn't mere coincidence, there's no guarantee that she wouldn't harm me or Lady Violet or certain townspeople who are trouble but excellent in their own regard and of high status. On the other hand, even if I take precautions, the other party is a professional. A novice like me would be easily found out. That said, given how she's staying for a week, she will have to be watched to an extent. By the way, you said your name was Gray. Yes? Did you need me? As I was thinking of ways to deal with her, Miss Schwartz suddenly turned to look at Gray. Don't tell me. She's here for Gray? Because he was a child of noble lineage all along, and she's here to look into it and take him back? If that's the case, then I need to protect Gray. No matter his past, so long as he's against the idea, he's my family and I must protect him. Nothing, I just thought that you're pretty. So how about it? Do you want to play with me tonight? Hey, what the hell are you thinking of doing to Gray? You perverted woman? I thought she had common sense, but never mind. She's a pervert after all. She's around 17, as I remember, but to think she'd want to lay hands on a kid 6 years younger than her. Was that her preference? Play. Sure. I'm okay with playing trump or games that use hot stones, though it would have to wait until after I finish work. No, Gray. That isn't the kind of games this person has in mind. Gray can speak of adult matters, but he's still a boy who doesn't fully understand them. If he's going to get caught up in something weird, maybe I should exercise my authority as the domain lord and have him leave the place. Really? I'm glad to hear that, Gray. No one can beat me in poker or president. I like playing different local games by their rules and places I visit. I hope you can teach me this and that. I don't mind. Would that be all right, Lord CLO? As long as you don't make a racket and inconvenience people around you. Of course. Anyway, after letting the innkeeper know that they can throw her out if she tries to pull anything weird, Gray and Ms. Schwartz joined the others in the tavern and had a grand old time playing games. Shit, I really can't get a read on her. Hello there. Are you the client who hired me for the job? Yes, that's right. As you wished, I've reached Shiki. I see. Then, please do as you were asked. The next time you contact me can be after you're done. Noted. Let me verify the details once again. The request is to kill Lady Violet Valentine. Is that right? That is no longer a Valentine. Yes, I got that. Expect good news soon. By the way, you sound different from before. Did something happen? I'm simply trying out a new role. Chapter 15 out of character? Are you okay, Gray? You aren't under any strange influence from that Schwartz woman, are you? I'm fine, milady. I only showed her around Shiki. The next evening after Miss Schwartz came to Shiki. Yesterday, Gray unusually stayed out to play until late, until midnight. And when he came back, he went to sleep in his room as if his batteries had run out. After waking up and having breakfast, showing Miss Schwartz around Shiki and apologizing, he apparently went to play with the children of Shiki. Miss Schwartz seems to like children, and in just one day, she took such good care of the children that they all got attached to her. Gray was also smiling, so it seems she's really good at that sort of thing. More importantly, what have you been doing today and yesterday, Lord CLO? It's insane that you would trust Schwartz with Gray for the night. Lord CLO, why is Milady so wary of Lady Schwartz? I think Gray would also be wary of her if he had the same shocking encounter with her like we did. To him, she's probably a gentle older sister who's fun to play with, though. I told the innkeeper to be vigilant, and Gray's excellent at protection magic, so there wasn't much to worry about. No, the other person being what she is, it wasn't like I had absolutely no worries. Plus, I also had another business to take care of. Ms. Schwartz is a pretty serious person. From what I've heard, she gave out compensations as an apology for scaring people more rather than causing actual harm. It was to the point that the victim was troubled because Ms. Schwartz was trying to pay a lot. She seemed to have calmed down after being told that she could help with a different matter from tomorrow instead. I wonder what kind of talking techniques Ms. Schwartz used to make a total stranger go that far. You too, Lord CLO? Is it because of yesterday's encounter, after all? You? Of course not. If I let her continue, I felt like Lady Violet would say something like, "You didn't show any interest when it was me," so I cut her off before she managed to say it. If she said that, even Gray would think that I was acting leniently because I'd been fascinated by Ms. Schwartz's body. He looked like he didn't understand what was going on, but I didn't want to explain anything. Besides, as the Lord, I am always vigilant. There's a chance that she's a scammer who's trying to blend into Shiki by taking control of the children's hearts to commit fraud. I'm working on taking countermeasures and confirming her identity. Oh, was today's business related to that? That's right. Actually, there's another business I had to take care of, but I don't need to mention that. Besides, it's true that I'm vigilant. There are people observing Lady Violet under the guise of travelers and merchants, and the atmosphere in Shiki has been different recently. Amidst all that, a person who's troublesome, even in Ring of Fire, decided to stay in Shiki for a week. I have to be more careful than usual this week. If she's heading for the royal capital, His Highness might be in danger too. I murmured a small concern I had while wondering how to cook the vegetables in my hand. That's right. Even if Ms. Schwartz's reason for coming to Shiki is purely recreational, if she heads for the royal capital, there's a possibility that she might cause harm for His Highness and other people. If she's going to cause harm, I try to stop her even though I have no connections to His Highness. Though I don't know what would stop her. I can't prove her past crimes, and I can't mention anything about crimes that she may commit in the future. The only thing I can do, as somebody who will be stopped by the military police if I go to the royal capital, is to protect Shiki's peace so she won't be able to threaten it. What's wrong, Gray? No, it's nothing. Gray was looking at me curiously. Did he hear me talking to myself just now? If he did, he probably wouldn't understand what I meant, and he wouldn't connect it with Miss Schwartz either. At least Miss Schwartz is just a good person right now. CLO, did you leer? That came out of nowhere. The next morning, San, who came to sponge off her breakfast using the absence of the priest as an excuse and was eating with me, suddenly started treating me like a pervert. At least it's not a line I want to hear from somebody who remodeled her habit to make it easier to move around when kicking and whose clothes have a deep slit that exposes her thighs a lot when she moves intensely. Sorry, did you hear? That Schwartz person is bad news. I can't explain how exactly, but in any case, she's dangerous. You definitely did that on purpose. Also, your vocabulary is no less bad news. As she ate the tomato that had been pierced with a fork, Cyan chewed and folded her arms mysteriously. Looking at Cyan, Lady Violet was drinking her after-meal tea. She seems to have already gotten used to Cyan's unsisterly behavior. though she was still surprised when Cyan opened the door suddenly this morning and demanded food. I got into a fight with that Schwartz person yesterday. What the hell are you doing to a guest, dumbass? Lady Violet almost choked on her tea after hearing what Cyan had just said. I mean, she had malice. When I talked to her, she said I wasn't beautiful, and she also said stuff about my clothes, so I couldn't help it. That's not a valid excuse. But if Cyan actually felt malice, maybe Ms. Schwartz was trying to do something. Cyan might be like this, but she's pretty sensitive to the presence of evil and demonic monsters. Perhaps Ms. Schwartz was trying to do something in Shiki, after all. Wasn't she just exposing herself to show off her beauty? Haha, that couldn't be it. Wait. Why are you looking away, CLO? Because I can't deny it. Anyway, when I tried to put her in check to exorcise the malice, she acted scared on purpose. On purpose? Yeah, I don't know how to put it well, but it felt like she took a defensive stance to act like an amateur despite being aware that I was keeping her in check. You're also something else for recognizing that. Besides, her median line didn't shift and the malice disappeared, even though I didn't exorcise anything. It might have been my imagination, but I thought it would be better to be careful, so I came here to warn you. MHM, thanks for the meal. Sister Cyan, there will be black tea from the Eastern country after dinner. I remember you mentioned liking it before. You're as thoughtful as ever, Ray. Thank you for the compliment. After hearing this story, I was even more worried about what to do. I can't judge whether that malice was something brought by Ms. Schwartz's past or if it had anything to do with something she tried to do here. What I do know is that Ms. Schwartz has become wary of Cyan now, so the chances of her acting openly have decreased. Lord CLO, I'm also curious, but it's not good to have too much suspicion. There's a possibility that you're making her uncomfortable by treating her like a criminal even before she's done any harm. Those don't sound like the words of a person who was so worried about Gray yesterday and wary of Ms. Schwartz. That's true, but were you not the one who said that she was a serious person, Lord CLO? You're right. I nodded at Lady Violet's words and decided to stop thinking about the countermeasures now. It's definitely not good to be too worried. Maybe the anxiety I felt yesterday was unfounded, and it's possible that Ms. Schwartz, who was a character in Ring of Fire, and Ms. Schwartz, who's staying here now, are completely unrelated. Say, Ray, are those two always like that at home? Yes. Is something wrong? MMH just thought that they don't look like a married couple. Is that so? Chapter 16. No to horror, even if situation calls for it. A few days had passed since Ms. Schwartz arrived. Even if I had my eye out for her, I couldn't possibly neglect my work as the domain lord, so I was doing all the paperwork with Lady Violet. I've left the job of monitoring Ms. Schwartz to Gray and Cyan. That said, all Gray does is play games with her. A town in a countryside like this has comparatively less paperwork, but occasionally the antics of those wayward nobles make paperwork flood in. I wish they would try to strengthen their foundation rather than harass others, but I can't completely ignore it either. While dealing with it in a haphazard manner, it sometimes leads to weird contracts. Oh, what's this? Was it part of the arrangement? Ah, Lady Violet. Sorry to disturb you. I wanted to ask you about this sentence here. Lady Violet was leagues superior to me in matters of this sort. It could probably be attributed to years of education she received as the prospective queen, for she was well informed on matters of law, noble affairs, and she was also quick at pointing out errors in written documents or contracts. Lady Violet assists me with work that would originally fall on me to finish, as if it were only natural she does so, and I've allowed myself to be spoiled by her willingness. Let me see. It's a new law that came to pass in the capital recently, concerning the issue of permissible extent of territory Marquis and Margrave families can possess. I see. It makes sense that I don't know about it. After receiving a thorough explanation, I made my way back to my table in the study, which was some distance away from the small desk Lady Violet was working from. In the silence of the room, the only sounds that echoed were pens scratching on paper and seals being stamped. Maybe it's a given in the midst of work, but apart from verifying a few things here and there, we barely talked to each other. Done with this pile? Lady Violet finished looking over one heap of documents and moved on to another pertaining to a different field. She did show some exhaustion. Regardless, one could see the elegance in her bearing and expressions, even if they weren't too extravagant. Lady Violet always carried herself elegantly. Her movements were that of someone conscious of being in the public eye. Her back was seldom hunched, and even the way she brushed away her bangs was careful and concise. I suppose it was her way of expressing her femininity, so to speak. Her mannerisms wouldn't change even in my absence, as it was her way of asserting her sense of self even in private. She has the pride of a noble, something that's missing in me, which I very much like. I was under the impression she had eased up a bit. However, she seems to be throwing herself more into work lately. It looked like she immersed herself in work, as if she was trying to break free, as though she was afraid of the eyes on her. I'd be glad if it was just me overanalyzing things, and she's simply earnest in her endeavor to help me with my work. But if that isn't the case, maybe I should decide on how to celebrate the 1-month anniversary of her arriving in Shiki that I had been planning. If she'd rather be a private affair, then maybe I could give her the gift from Gray and me that was delivered secretly today and decorate the trees in the garden. Sorry to disturb you, but there are many matters I can't come to a decision on my own, Lord CLO. Ah, yes. Sure. Where do we start? I was completely lost in thought when I suddenly found Lady Violet next to me. This won't do. She can be absent-minded at times, but she's fundamentally very sharp. If I'm so distracted, forget surprising her, I could end up making her angry instead. I stopped writing, turned around to face Lady Violet, and waited for her to speak. She had on a very earnest expression, but is the matter at hand that complicated? It's about this robot dispatch fee, an invoice to the next town over. It needs nothing but a signature. It's not the first invoice of its kind, and somehow a sign is enough for an approval. Really? Yes, I don't know why, but that's enough. Occasionally, the repair expenses cancel out the dispatch fee, which is a huge help. What about this Devil Descente of the Dark Magic Congregation? That's a letter of summons to a real dark mage, Orchid. Just in case, it was sent to all the towns in this area. I know it says devil, but it's just an association that worships a black cat. They apparently get together to sing praises of a black cat owned by one of the members of the congregation. What's this listing adorned by a cross on both sides? That is a written request from the delusional edgelord, Apricot, titled Hell's Lament is My Armor. Long story short, it's a request asking for a magic testing lab that's both sturdy and large to be built using town funds. Naturally, it's to be dismissed. About this request to create resuscitation pills. It's nothing new. Feel free to ignore it. Bring into town more females ranging from the apparent ages of 10s through 70s. It says, it's nothing new. I'll go beat him up later. The job of a domain lord is complicated and strange. Not really. I think that's only because it's shikim, a knock in someone's voice. As Lady Violet was occupied with matters of a world entirely new to her, there was an abrupt knock on the door. It sounded impatient, as if the person was in a hurry. Who is it? Gray would simply enter without knocking, and if it were Cyan, she'd even break the door down if she had to. We took a break from paperwork and left the study. As we neared the front door, the voice got louder, making it apparent that something was wrong, so I rushed to open the door. Whereupon, I found Ms. Blue, a resident of Shiki, standing outside. Kid was... Calm down, Ms. Blue. First, explain what happened. I never seen Ms. Blue look so terribly flustered. Realizing something was wrong, I ran up to her, and Lady Violet soon followed, looking worried. Lady Violet rubbed her back in an effort to calm her down. Ms. Blue slowly stopped hyperventilating and regained some of her composure, or so I thought. My kid was abducted by a monster, and proceeded to inform us of the incident happening at that very moment. Chapter 17, most likely inherited from his mother. When we went outside, I realized that the sun had hidden and it had started to rain. After hearing the details from Ms. Blue, We immediately asked the people of Shiki to evacuate to their homes and asked whoever could move to help us in the search. According to Ms. Blue, Light Blue went to the bathroom while playing with Ms. Schwartz, and when he came back, he was grabbed and kidnapped by a wolf-type monster, direwolf, that can be found around here. The witnesses were Gray, Cyan, and Ms. Blue. Cyan chased after it, but it quickly escaped to the forest as if it had been trained, and after asking Gray to report this, Cyan followed it inside the forest. Hearing that, Gray told Ms. Blue to contact me while calming her down, and then went to Ms. Schwartz's house to explain the situation and keep watch. It can't be helped that you all suspect me. I'm a traveler, I can communicate with my children, and I was also playing with Light Blue and the others. It's not strange for me, who has neither credibility nor your trust, to be surveilled. However, if possible, I would like to cooperate with the search. Ms. Schwartz, who heard about the situation, was extremely panicked but seemed to have decided that it was not wise to act immediately due to the situation being what it was. I had to be there, at the very least, or she would only look more suspicious even if she moved. Since there is no hard evidence against her involvement, this uproar should be resolved by the people of Shiki alone. But what should I do? I observed her movements over the last few days, but it didn't look like she would hurt children. Though, if she's really that Ms. Schwartz, I'd be worried about allowing her to cooperate with us, or even just staying here. I am worried, but... Ms. Schwartz, can you help us with the search? Gray, Lady Violet, and Ms. Schwartz, whom my words were directed at, opened their eyes wide. Is that fine, CLO? Yes. Ms. Schwartz, I will have you talk with the monsters and expand the search area. I feel bad asking this to a guest, but I am counting on your cooperation. I will not skimp out on the reward. I bowed my head to Ms. Schwartz and asked for her cooperation, whilst fully aware of how rude I was being. There is no time. I'm worried, but right now we need as many people as possible. I'm going to use whatever I can when a life is at stake. I don't need a reward. Right now we have to work together. Is that fine, Violet? I understand your wariness of me, but I ask that you put on hold for now. It's Lord CLO's decision. I won't complain. Lady Violet seemed a little dissatisfied, but I will apologize for this later. Well then, according to the witness testimony, the direwolf headed for the mountain from the square. Ms. Schwartz, you will join me and Gray in the search towards the big tree in the southeast. Lady Violet will go with Apricot's group and follow Cyan's footsteps towards the cave, and Orchid will wait with the priest near the church to look for the injured. I asked other people who could move to search the surrounding area as well. For people who had no combat abilities, they could simply check the area in a range that would be easy for them to escape from and return. I asked them to send a signal by activating some kind of magic in the sky if they found them. And I also wanted them to explain the current situation to Cyan if they met her on the way. The visibility is poor due to the rain, so monsters might also be agitated. Please don't forget to light the fire with a pyro stone. Well then, let's hurry. As expected, the direwolf's footprints had disappeared at the entrance of the forest. Direwolf is a relatively clever wolf-type monster. In the forest, it will jump from tree to tree and sprint from branch to branch to avoid being tracked by its footprints. Of course, the branches are not completely unbreakable, and the direwolf will also shed fur, so it's not impossible for someone with knowledge to track it down. But there's one thing that's bothering me. Direwolves rarely attack people directly. That's right. Direwolves rarely attack people. It's because they're clearly weaker than humans. It's a different matter if they're against small children, but even if they have the leg strength to run or jump, they're clearly vulnerable to impact, and they're such fragile monsters that they will die if they charge at somebody, so they're unlikely to make enemies. It doesn't look like it gained any special powers due to its environment. The birds don't seem to have seen anything like that either. Ms. Schwartz was gathering information by talking to the monsters we met on the way. I knew about her from the plot of Ring of Fire, but she's very useful. Even though we've entered the monster's habitat, we didn't have to engage in any battles thanks to her talking to them. CLO, this might be the wrong time and place, but I want to ask something. While Gray and I were calling out to the surroundings, Ms. Schwartz talked to me in a low volume that Gray couldn't hear. She looked unusually meek for somebody who was always full of confidence. Why did you allow me to join the search? Frankly speaking, it was partly because Gray and I would be able to deal with her the best if something happened, so I wanted her to be close. But the biggest reason was because you seemed to be having a lot of fun playing with the children. I thought you were really concerned for the boy. I see. The biggest reason was that I didn't think she looked like somebody who would harm children. Gray seemed to be really having a lot of fun these past few days, and the occasional sight of him playing didn't look like an act. That's why I thought it would be best for her to join the search under surveillance now. In that case, I will also search him. I don't know what she thought about my answer, but after a short while, Ms. Schwartz switched her gears and was going to resume the search. However, perhaps having sensed something, she turned her attention to a slightly different direction than the one we were heading towards. What's wrong? Looks like this child saw a boy who looked like light blue ahead. Really? Hearing that, we ran towards the place where it saw the boy. The soil was muddy because of the rain, but I chose a relatively hard ground to run on so as to not slow down as much as possible. After running dozens of meters in an open space with a part of the trees being gone was. No. Horses run fast and shoot arrows. GGRR. You can't shoot arrows? Okay, then I'll teach you. GR. Light blue playing with the monster. Moreover, the boy was on top, as if they were playing horsey. Isn't this boy a little too strong? Chapter 18, Strange Feeling. The horse wanted to play with me, so I gave it some food and played with it. On our way back to Shiki, Light Blue explained the series of events, oh so innocently. There was no indication that this kid was abducted or attacked whatsoever, but his only response to the dire wolf that carried him by the scruff of his neck was, "It wants to play with me." I suppose I should call it a child's intuition instead. Incidentally, he keeps calling a monster horse because, a horse takes you anywhere when you feed it, right? Said he. I think I should have Ms. Blue explain to him, from scratch, the danger posed by monsters. Ms. Schwartz conversed with the dire wolf that abducted Light Blue and had it return to its pack in the forest. On our way back, Gray released the signal that Light Blue had been found safe and sound, and upon regrouping with the other search parties, we ensured that everyone was unharmed before returning to Shiki. Mommy, I suppose she knew that we were returning with him owing to the signal. For Ms. Blue stood at the entrance to the forest along with other children, and upon seeing us emerge, they rushed to us, and Ms. Blue wept tears as she hugged Light Blue. While the embraced Light Blue had no idea what was happening and looked completely baffled. The townspeople heaved a sigh of relief at witnessing the reunion of the parent with child, and considered the problem resolved. You okay, Mommy? You said you won't step out in the rain because the face lotion you secretly apply will come off? Child, stop. Ms. Blue, drained of all tears, looked at her child and grinned, and quietly bonked him on his head. Well, even if the situation with the direwolf this time was out of his hand, I guess that much was still within the scope of discipline, so I decided to turn a blind eye. Everyone around had a wry smile on their faces, and I'm sure they will pretend it never happened by tomorrow. What about injuries? Are you hurt anywhere? What about a gash from the direwolf's fangs? Or scratches you got from wading through trees? Listen, you shouldn't hide any injuries from a doctor. Small bruises can turn into scars later. So, you better show me all your injuries. Come on, hurry. Hey, Ivory, chill out. How could I? This is an isolated case. Of course, I must use the opportunity to observe and commit all details to memory. The deviant doctor, Ivory, tried to get close to the patient while her breathing was ragged. I can understand that she's worried about his well-being as a doctor, but panting that hard only makes her look suspicious. That said, Light Blue has already received some simple healing, but should he need further treatment, we have no choice but to rely on this doctor. Well then, I shall take my leave first. Rain doesn't agree with my hair. I need to get into the bath as soon as possible. Okay, thanks for today. We found him quickly thanks to you. I'll visit you with a reward later. Never mind that. Moreover, I was planning on leaving tomorrow, so if you insist on a reward, then just welcome me when I stop by again. Miss Schwartz looked at the reunited family with a smile on her face and made to get back to the inn. Had it not been for her help, we may have not found him in time. Not to mention, she's only shown good intentions this past week, and even now, she turned down the reward and showed consideration towards us by promising to visit in the future. So, I wonder if she's a good person after all. My clothes are also wet and a nuisance. All right, I'm going to have it washed anyway. Might as well strip now. If you try to strip here, I'm sorry to say this, but I'll have to restrain you before you pull it off. Are you saying you don't want to see the beautiful artwork that is my body? Didn't you say that an artwork is appreciated more when it's seen less? Correction. She may be a good person, but the fact remains that she's a pervert. Ms. Schwartz uttered, "Just kidding," which could be either a lie or truth, and walked back to the inn. Lord CLO. And as I saw her disappear from view, Gray addressed me in a hushed manner. Away from prying ears, when everyone's focus was away from us, I and Gray began discussing the most concerning problem of all. Yeah, I know. How this whole thing came about, right? Yes. There are no records of direwolves ever attacking humans in Shiki. Without intention to eat or harm, I'm sure there's been no instance when monsters abducted a human just to play with them. Looks like this one strayed from its pack and was starving as a result. It had full intention of devouring him, but the snacks that Light Blue coincidentally had on him was enough to fill its belly, so it went along with what the boy wanted. Is what Miss Schwartz said. Turns out it was true that Light Blue had some snacks on him, and as long as I can't affirm or deny her claim, all I could say is that it may be so. I can't let my guard down. Even if this whole incident may have been an accident or something caused by the monster's change in habitat, I need to be more vigilant. Huh? What is it? That's weird. Why do I feel like something's off? Feeling relieved after seeing everyone here safe and sound, a strange feeling washed over me as I was thinking of ways to strengthen the security. Lady Violet was nowhere. She could still be looking for Light Blue because she was yet unfamiliar with the lay of the land, or through a strong sense of responsibility. No. Then why do I not even see Apricot? Who was with her? Did they not notice the signal from Gray due to the rain? But he's signaled multiple times and is still doing so. She should realize that we've returned to Shiki by now. Is she circling the perimeter of the forest to steer clear of monsters? And is on her way back? Yes, I'm sure that's it. I will be troubled if not, because that means Lady Violet. That can only mean something happened to Lady Violet. Chapter 19, There's absolutely no twist to the enemy. Da-da, my leg hurts. I never thought we would be attacked by a monster, and I'd slip on the muddy soil. Right now I'm resting at a cave, where I can shelter from the driving rain with Apricot and Ms. Cyan, who we joined on the way, but at this rate we'll be like the hunters becoming the hunted. I'm sorry, Apricot. You even had to treat me. Now, worry not, as I have abandoned the sacred hegemony. My magic belongs to the darkness and fire. Thus, it is not bad for thee to get some peace to heal your injuries. I see, thank you. Yeah, I still have no idea what she's talking about. If I had to guess, I think she's saying something like, don't worry about it. I'm not good at healing magic, so I can only do first aid, but you should rest. By the way, I'm surprised you have bandages on you. Did you keep them in the pocket of your robe? No, those are the ones I was wearing. No, never mind. There is no way to know when my kin shall need them. They were merely a seal for Evil Gate, a mere fragment of its power. I see. I wonder what's Evil Gate. I'll try asking Lord CLO if we can safely overcome this situation. If I can stay unscathed, that is. We were attacked by the same wolf-type monster as the wolf that kidnapped the boy, but it was Fenrir, a monster that's rarely seen around here. With a total length of more than 2 meters, it can attenuate magical attacks, and its strong body can kill a heavily armored soldier with a single blow. That hurts. I carelessly provoked it, and it recognized us as its enemies, so it'll come after us eventually. I'm sorry, Miss Cyan. You had to protect me. It's fine, don't worry. You were attacked suddenly. After all, you can't think about that all the time. By nature, Fenrir is a monster that won't attack unless you attack it first or violate its territory. Nevertheless, the Fenrir that appeared before us attacked us out of nowhere. A question arose as to why it did so. However, I had no time to ponder about it, because Miss Cyan drew its attention by punching it, and Apricot and I, who were relatively accustomed to magic and combat, bought time to let others escape. We tried to escape when it was somewhat wounded and frightened, but I slipped on the soil and fell down. Just as Fenrir tried to attack me, Ms. Cyan protected me and was lightly wounded. I was honestly surprised that Ms. Cyan swung her fist to counter and blinded Fenrir's eyes. Thanks to that, Fenrir ran away. I hope Kaki and the others returned to Shiki and reported the situation. There is a signal that CLO's group returned to Shiki too, so I hope they evacuated. Ugh. Ms. Cyan, is it the wound you got from protecting me? It's fine, it's fine. I just felt a bit uncomfortable because I'm not a good healer. Thanks for your concern, Io. The person herself was insisting that she was fine, but the bandages I could see from the slit of the tear in her habit were slightly red. The wound was closed now because of the healing magic that she said she was bad at, but it was obvious it hurt when she moved. More importantly, it's time to move. There's a chance it'll sniff us out. We certainly can't afford to rest like this. It's not a good idea to move carelessly either, but Fenrir has a good sense of smell. Apricot is using space preservation and presence concealment, but those are only effective within a certain range. After all, if Fenrir is lured by the smell of my or Ms. Cyan's blood and finds us in a deadened cave like this, we won't be able to escape. Then, I will be going first. Ms. Cyan and Lady Violet, please follow after me. You're right. That's better than us, the injured, taking the lead. Sorry, I will be counting on you. I am angry at myself. Even though I've learned the ropes of combat at the academy and from the tutors, I was no use in practice. Even now, I've entrusted the leadership to Apricot, who's younger than me. What good is a noble if they become a hindrance in dangerous situations like this? If I hadn't slipped, we might have been able to escape. Miss Cyan might not have had to get injured. If I'd been knowledgeable with the terrain, it might have been possible for us three to subdue Fenrir. I have to discard thoughts about what might have happened, but I can't help being reminded of. You really don't look at people. Are you not aware that your actions are nothing but a nuisance? Your conduct is too much. I can't love the selfish you. Stop. Don't think about it. Those words don't matter anymore. Leave self-reflection for later. For now, just be happy that you're alive. Keep thinking about how to escape from this situation. Ignore the Count's words. Don't think about His Majesty's words either. Don't mind the words of Knight Commander's son. His Majesty's words don't matter right now. Right now, you have to improve the situation, even if by a little. Io, what is this? Miss Cyan? What's wrong sudden? Miss Cyan? Apricot? What's wrong all of a sudden? Why are you guys suddenly holding your heads and falling down? What is this? I was suddenly attacked by drowsiness and fatigue. It was like a wave of emotions that stole the freedom of my whole body and made me unable to stand for a reason unrelated to the pain in my leg. Is this magic? Even if it is, I've never heard of Fenrir being able to cast this kind of magic. Then, it has to be some other monster or... Hey there, good evening. Yes, or maybe. If the usage of this magic was unrelated to the monster, if it was used by the person who appeared in front of us right now and is standing at the entrance of the cave, it's nothing but clear evidence of malice. Sorry, but I had to put those two to sleep. Don't worry, I won't harm them. As expected, I wasn't wrong to be wary, though it makes me a little sad to think that her expression of worrying about that child or the way she was having fun was a lie. The one standing there was. Well then, I will kill you as requested, Violet. Standing behind one-eyed Fenrir was Schwartz. Author's note. Apricot, a 14Y. Oh, delusional edgelord with real abilities. She's bandaged, even though she's not injured, and is wearing a witch-like robe and a big hat. Her eye patch, sealed right eye, makes her totally blind, so she doesn't use it outside. This time she was wearing a robe in rain, so she had to struggle after it absorbed all the rain. But she still won't take it off. Chapter 20, Mending Heart. Sorry, my child. You got hurt, all because I asked you for a favor. growling. All right, I get you, but could you listen to me just this once? Drive away anyone who gets close to this place. If they put up a fight, you can rough them up. Even against Fenrir, which looked ready to pounce on us, Schwartz acted as if nothing was out of the ordinary. Her tone was cheerful, as if she were conversing with a friend, and she spoke with the Fenrir on equal terms and had it leave the place. So she's capable of communicating with and controlling even a Fenrir. I wonder how this woman gained such an ability. Well then, it's not exactly mercy, but I'd like to have a conversation before doing my job. Sounding as friendly as ever, she pulled out what looked like a military sword from her shoulder bag. She turned around to face us and smiled. Don't mind my reasons for doing this, but I can answer a few of your questions. Kay's Tynes, what's she talking about? My head feels foggy, and I can't move my body as I wish. I can't gather any mana when I try to cast a spell. There are just too many things I can't wrap my head around. The only thing I do understand is that this whole incident was orchestrated by this woman. And in order to do her job, she has to. What do you mean you have to kill me? I earnestly and almost foolishly asked the woman who just declared that she would kill me her reasons for wanting to do so. I didn't care if she told the truth. However, I wanted to learn from her reaction what her reasons were for putting together this little play, be it through scorn or lies or a bargain. I would use anything to try to understand the situation, even if just a little. I can give you a straight answer to that. However, this woman answered me honestly. I really didn't want to hear the truth. I was told as such. That Violet Hartfield was a woman unbefitting of being part of an exducal house. Before she adds on to her disgrace, eliminate her quickly. I see. Was it father, mother, father's secretary, a classmate who I'd harmed, enemy of the Valentine family, my guardian, or His Highness? I'd rather it be anyone but His Highness. I thought to myself, and slowly realized the weight of those words. Unneeded. In the end, I guess it didn't matter. This past month, no matter how hard I tried to mend things or continued to do my best without denying my past as Lord CLO had suggested, I'd already been declared as having fallen too far from grace. At the very least, I was determined to be such a menace that they had to send an assassin after me. Aha, what a joke. So I'm going to cause trouble for people around me to the bitter end. So even here, I brought about nothing but misfortune. Not really. You having to die and being a curse are two different things. You dare speak when you had a monster attack a child and had it lure him into the forest just so you could kill me. I tried my best to put on a brave front as I forced my limp leg to move. I stood up to put myself in front of Cyan and Apricot, shielding them from Schwartz. They need to be safe. I need to save them. Maybe then even the likes of me, at least in the end, would. I was against that too. However, Schwartz's response was different from what I was expecting. The client, who expressed interest in my children, wanted one of them, so I had one follow him. Schwartz chewed her lips, her expression showing her hatred for this abhorrent being. So strange. Her expression just now seemed spontaneous, I thought absent-mindedly even in the face of danger. But the client was impatient and kidnapped the kid, thinking they were helping me out. Us talking here like this is my way of apologizing for that and personally atoning for my sins. However, she soon shook her head as if to pull herself together, pointed her sword at me, and looked into my eyes as if she were a saintess about to grant me mercy. Saintess, the completely inappropriate impression, was a result of Schwartz looking beautiful, illuminated by the lightning flashing outside the cave. Her speech and conduct are strange, but she is certainly beautiful. Schwartz approached me one step at a time. Her movements were measured. The aura around her was so cold that it felt like she would immediately lop my head off if I were to try to cast a spell. Will you harm Ms. Cyan or Apricot? I'll convince Fenrir to leave them be. I'm glad to hear that. Upon hearing her answer, a smile, unlike the one from before, escaped my lips. How strange that I would smile when someone is trying to kill me. Did I give into despair? Maybe so, but the thought that no one would end up losing their life after becoming involved with the likes of me gave me some solace. But this kind of thinking might make Lord CLO angry with me. Please don't deny the part of yourself that fell in love with someone and always put her best foot forward. Lord CLO accepted me and said that I should be proud of myself. We never got to do anything remotely romantic. Would he mourn me if I died? Or would he be relieved that a troublesome woman was gone for good? That would make me a bit sad, even though I'm not good enough to be entitled to do so. Don't worry. To carry out this job, the surroundings were. And when the sword was just shy of my skin, a shadow appeared behind Schwartz. The moment she became aware of the presence behind, Schwartz ducked, and a fist swung from the side at the spot her head had been a few seconds ago. The shadow lost no time to cast a spell and set fire under her feet, which had Schwartz leaping to the side to put some distance between them. But she soon flipped over and quickly regained her balance. The shadow put itself between me and Schwartz and stepped forward, shielding me. Who? The back looked familiar. Though he was shorter than His Highness, strangely enough, his back felt much bigger. The very unaristocratic man that I was growing used to seeing. Good evening. It's been a while. Standing there. Well, I'm in no mood to listen to your excuses, Miss Schwartz. Was Lord CLO. Chapter 21, Manners and Threats, Lavender. I'm sorry, Lady Violet. I'm late. Lord CLO, who appeared while protecting me with his body, called out to me without letting his guard down. He was wet and muddy from the rain. The well-tailored clothes he usually wore were dirty, and his fist was stained with red blood. Lord CLO blood. Please don't worry, this is Fenrir's blood. It resisted, so I had to get a little rough. Fenrir's blood? Does that mean that he defeated a Fenrir? Lord CLO is barely average when it comes to magic. For him to defeat Fenrir, did Grey, or the priest assist him? If that's the case, it's strange that there's nobody else nearby except for Lord CLO. Ha ha. Now that's a surprise. Who would have thought I'd allow you to get this close? I had some information about you, but I didn't think you would be this good. You flatter me. My humble self is overjoyed to be praised by the Empire's Fairy. The Empire's Fairy? Is that Schwartz's alias? I don't know what it means, but she's probably somebody who's known more by her nickname than her actual name. Foo-foo. So you knew about me. But strange. I was pretty careful, hiding my own face while receiving requests. At the very least, I received this request with a name that couldn't have been connected to that alias. What did you find out about it? Badump. Even though the target of her hostility wasn't me, her words and gaze held enough murderous intent to make me stiffen up. My heavy body trembled. Even though I was fine until now, I could clearly feel genuine fear just by having her serious killing intent directed towards me. My sources are a secret. After all, you wouldn't believe me even if I told you. However, Lord CLO ignored her murderous intent and cold voice and answered with a somewhat relaxed voice and expression. Just what kind of life has he experienced to be able to stay relaxed like that in this situation? I heard that you were abnormal Cagliostro, but as expected, you don't seem to be an ordinary lecher. Wait a minute, why is that nickname going around? Now he started panicking. Well, that's because you and this nickname are synonymous. Cool. As soon as she stopped talking, Schwartz threw the sword in her hand towards me as if it was a throwing tool. At the same time, she took out several knives that she had probably hidden inside her clothes and sent them out towards me. Phew, Lord CLO. He grabbed the sword and flicked the knives away so that they wouldn't hit me or Ms. Cyan, who had collapsed on the ground, but suddenly Lord CLO's face distorted. That's strange. Lord CLO fended away all of is that a knife dyed in black. A knife dyed in black to get rid of the reflection was stuck in Lord CLO's left arm. Good grief. Nothing worse than a well-prepared assassin. I'm extremely delighted to be praised by you. After laughing at those words, Lord CLO dropped the sword he was gripping in his left hand on the ground and quietly asked me to take a step back. But you see, just this much doesn't count as a wound. Lord CLO took a small breath, strongly put his right foot forward, and slammed it against the ground. Stomp! Schwartz, who looked astonished for a second, lost her balance from Lord Silo's single movement that destroyed the ground of the cave and created a crack, but she jumped backwards and took distance. Even while jumping back, she threw multiple knives and took a stance again without showing any weakness. In the hands of Schwartz, who had taken the stance, was another sword which she had taken out since who knows when. "Ms. Schwartz, are you willing to withdraw? If you leave Shiki quietly, I will forget everything, including the previous incident," Lord CLO suggested without letting his guard down. If anything, Lord CLO was at a disadvantage because he had to protect me and Ms. Cyan. I haven't seen the limits of Lord CLO's physical abilities, but the same can be said for Schwartz too. And looking at the situation, neither of them will come out unscathed if they continue to fight. I can't do that. Once I've taken up the request, it's my duty to fulfill it to the end. However, Schwartz rejected his suggestion without changing her stance. I don't know what kind of position she's in, but there's no way she would accept that kind of a request. Even as I've fallen this much, there's still somebody who would commission my death. I doubt that kind of a client would let it go if she turned back without doing anything. That's right. I'm her target, so if I... Besides, even if I die, my children won't let Violet. Schwartz. The voice that interrupted Schwartz's words was the coldest I'd have heard until now, and it also pierced my ears deeply. And the moment his opponent shut up, Lord CLO continued speaking, as if speaking about something that was natural for him to know. "How's Weiss?" Schwartz's breath and movements stopped for a moment, stopping her legs that were about to move on the spot. Her ever-present relaxed expression disappeared. She opened her eyes wide and started sweating, as if her secret that had no chances of being found out had been unveiled. Weiss? Who could that be? Looking at Schwartz's expression, it couldn't have been somebody unrelated to her. "Why do you know that name?" "Of course I know." One step, Lord CLO approached Schwartz. Even though she was wary of his movements, she trembled and couldn't react the way she did until now. "You like children because they remind you of your younger brothers from the orphanage. The one the most precious to you is Weiss, your blood-related younger brother." Two steps, Lord CLO was approaching her calmly, without smiling. "I also know about your precious handkerchief that you always have with you. If you like, I could even tell you the color of the thread used to embroider that handkerchief. Why sewed it for you on your birthday, right?" Three steps, as if saying that he knew all about her, that there was no point to keeping it a secret. "Believe it or not, I have friends too. If something happens to me, they will be notified. And what do you think would happen to the orphanage Weiss is in then?" Four steps, he walked up to her closely and grabbed the neck of Schwartz, who still hadn't managed to grasp the situation with his right hand. After lightly pushing her upwards and forcing her to meet his gaze, Lord CLO continued speaking, as if trying to persuade her. "Listen, Schwartz, I know who your client is, and I even have that woman restrained. Do you understand what I want to say?" "It all depends on you," he implied. After giving her a choice, he gave an order that didn't accept any opinions. "If Weiss is important to you, leave this place quietly right this instant. If you don't, I'll kill you," Lord CLO declared. Chapter 22. It was an unadorned golden OO. I had a hard time recalling information about Schwartz. After all, even though I wrote down as much as I could remember on paper when I realized that this world was similar to Ring of Fire, it was over 20 years ago for me. It took a lot of effort to contact my friends in the Empire to compare the information and confirm that what I thought was correct was true. That being said, I was able to save Lady Violet from danger this time thanks to that, so I'll consider it a good thing. When I mentioned her client's name, Miss Schwartz, who had her neck tightened, swore to leave quietly. Frankly speaking, I might have placed my life in constant danger from now on by letting somebody who became an assassin to save the orphanage she grew up in leave, but I negotiated with her to have my safety guaranteed. The terms of a negotiation was simply abandon the request and don't lay a hand on the residents of Shiki. In turn, we also won't lay a hand on the orphanage. In addition, I ended up paying money for a contract that she wouldn't touch me. Cyan and Apricot are... Yeah, it looks like their injuries are also fine. They're just sleeping. If I remember correctly, they're asleep due to Schwartz's original magic, which is a combination of fragrances and magic. From my knowledge, it had some degree of directivity and was more effective at putting the targets to sleep by sneaking into one's body while applying space preservation. It doesn't seem to cause any harm, and I'll check later if there are any after effects. What should I do about Lady Violet, who's sitting a little far away from me with her face covered? Even though things went well this time, she must have realized that there's somebody out there who hates her enough to want to assassinate her. Moreover, it was somebody from her family who was monitoring her. It was something they did on their own accord to their fanatic loyalty, but it might take some time for Lady Violet to calm down, since she was a target of murderous intent instead of simple hostility. Lady Violet, Gray, and the others will be here soon. Only the priest, who restrained the client, knows that something like this happened. Others will only think that a Finra has lost its way and gone out of control. What I mean is everything is fine. Gray and I will protect you, as family. And what happened this time was because the Watcher went too far. Others typically wouldn't do something like this. What I mean is, what should I do? How should I follow up? Even I don't know how to care for the person who was nearly assassinated. Rather than that, I want you to take in consideration my specs that didn't get me praised as a prodigy or a gifted child during childhood, even though I'm a reincarnated adult. At the end, I was even told to calm down more. Maybe, yes. While I was choosing the next words, Lady Violet continued while looking down. Thank God, at least she's trying to have a conversation. Maybe it's better if I'm gone. Nevertheless, I'm not good with conversations like this. But it's much better for her to vent like this instead of bottling things up, reaching her limit, and become suicidal before I know it. I approached Lady Violet, took a position in front of her, and squatted down. Then, slowly but quietly, she began to mutter words. All I have done is cause trouble to those around me. I didn't have allies at that time either. Just as she was trying to do her best after being dumped and abandoned, this incident happened. I haven't heard the details of her life at the academy, but even I know that she was struggling alone. Or even if she had people around her, they wouldn't be able to protect her. The condemnation event in Ring of Fire should have been hopeless for Lady Violet. But it's also true that Lady Violet was extremely blind to her surroundings. That was undeniable. Neither mother nor father expect anything from me. No, maybe they don't even consider me as their child anymore. I think she's exaggerating, but I don't know Lady Violet's parents that well. I feel like if I told her that she's wrong, even though I don't know anything about her parents, it would make it worse. She probably wouldn't want me to say that either. Lord CLO. Yes. Lady Violet, who was talking while looking down, raised her head and looked at me. What should I do? I don't know what to do anymore. An expression that looked like that of a crying child, making her look a little younger than her age. It was her vulnerable side that I hadn't seen until now. It was the face of a girl who's neither tempestuous nor arrogant. Seeing her like this greatly destroyed the image I had of her until now. Rain was pouring outside the cave, but her weak voice was painfully clear in my ears. Then, following a flash of light outside, the sound of thunder echoed through the cave with a little delay. Thanks to that, I was able to search for the words after a few seconds and found the words I wanted to say. I took a small breath and prepared myself. Lady Violet. Her shoulders flinched for a second at my words. Lady Violet, right now, was fully dominated by negative emotions. Rather than being aggressive, her heart was so weakened, she found everything the other person did scary. Actually, I was planning to give it to you later. I was going to give it to her on the 1-month anniversary of her arrival in Shiki, but I have no choice now. I took out something I had hurriedly hidden in my pocket in the morning because Lady Violet had come just as I'd received it. It was packaged in a black box with no wrapping or any other decorations. Yup, the box is safe. I'm glad it wasn't crushed by Finra or the knife. I probably should have prepared it earlier, but could you please accept this? I took it out of the box and held it with the thumb and index finger in my left hand. I put the box away in my pocket and took Lady Violet's left hand with my free right hand. It's a beautiful hand. Looking at her left hand, which I have never held before, and which makes me a little bashful to hold now, I can see the effort she has made to keep herself beautiful even after coming to Shiki. You might have many things to think about, like what to do, being abandoned, your position, and self-sacrifice. But please let me just say this. I looked straight at her as she looked up. Her long, beautiful violet hair was swaying from the rain. Her beautiful blue eyes were dripping with tears, and her mouth was tightly closed, as if she would let out sobs if she opened it. She didn't have her usual elegance or grace, but I, who've always seen her as one of the characters of an Otome game, felt like I was able to see her face properly for the first time. I have once told you that I hated you. Remembering that I had never told her that I liked her, my heartbeat quickened at what I was about to say. But I'm your ally. I've never done anything like this before, including in my previous life. I hope my voice isn't strange. I hope my expression isn't funny. I hope she doesn't think that I'm weird. I can't help worrying about all those things. Let's figure out what to do from now on, together, even if this marriage was sudden and unwanted at the beginning, due to a combination of events and various unforeseen factors. Even if we were wary of each other in the beginning. The rapport to get to know each other. Life in an unfamiliar environment. And love. I thought all of those wouldn't be too late to start after we became a married couple. So, please don't say something as lonely as you being better off dead. I put a ring on her ring finger and promised her, let's support each other as a family. I will always be there for you. Chapter 23, The Soggy Lavender, Navy and Peach Run at Temperature. You're really fine with me? Yes, I am. Gazing at the gold ring on her left hand, Lady Violet ascertained, with her eyes teary and voice shaking. In response to her query, I continued to hold her left hand and maintain the smile on my face as I answered her. I got a little carried away, but my words were a reflection of my true feelings. I've never held a favorable view towards marriage. Even this marriage, I considered it part of the Otome game and an unavoidable sequence of events. Hence, I never gave much thought to how to lead a married life. Being a couple, just on paper, wasn't exactly what I had in mind, but given that we did end up together, I thought the least we could do was get along. That was my line of thought. However, seeing Lady Violet cry made me want to stay by her side for some reason. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I'm not alone. No, you're not. I'm by your side. Her tears now didn't look sad like they did earlier, but showed relief and happiness, as if it would make her happy if my words were true. It's all right if she sheds tears till she's drained of them, and I'd be grateful if it somehow ends up comforting me as well. But in this kind of situation, ho, I heard a voice, a female voice, a voice often heard in Shiki, so excitable that one would imagine the owner to be calm and composed only during prayer, one belonging to a woman a year younger than me. That's strange. She's supposed to be asleep. I see. Then this must be an auditory hallucination. There's no other explanation. Truly none. I can't sense any movements from behind me. 3. Miss Cyan, I just saw a confession for the first time ever. Oh, but Lord CLO and Lady Violet are married. What do you call it then? Of course, it's what they call conjugal relations, Kadi. Naturally, they'll engage in a joint activity later tonight. Joint? That makes sense. They are a couple, no, a family. Yes, it's because they are family. How long have you two been awake? I wasn't hearing things after all. Not just Cyan, but even Apricot had come too. How long? Just how long have they been listening? How much of our conversation did they hear? My confession aside, if they heard about the details of the assassination, then it would be bad in more ways than one. The thunderbolt earlier woke me up. Same here. That's when I confessed. The thunderbolt is what influenced me to finally decide on what to say to Lady Violet. This makes it hard to resent it. Never mind that. I'm glad everything is resolved. The fact that CLO's here must mean the Fenrir has been taken care of? Well, Gray should have put it to sleep and captured it by now. Everything's settled then. Besides, Io's been on the edge lately. I'm happy if your words gave her some relief. Shit. She's usually an oddball, but she's sharp at the weirdest of times. She doesn't seem in need of urgent care. I wonder if I could just leave her here. But she's probably the one who injured one of Fenrir's eyes, and if not for that, it may have taken me longer to get here. Would it be awful of me to not be grateful to her for that? This whole thing must have also scared Apricot. Also, I fought with the Fenrir too, so you better take good care of me. I'm but a poor, delicate girl. Stop calling yourself a girl when you're a grown-ass adult. Besides, I'm sure you're the one who gouged out Fenrir's eye. What's so delicate about you? Itch in my head. That's nothing to brag about. I'm certain she's doing all this on purpose, including her delicate girl quip. Fine, I'll do it. Once Lady Violet has cried her eyes out, I'll lend Cyan a shoulder. She probably needs some first aid, too. It would also be a good idea to let the sopping wet Apricot borrow the bath once we return. Come to think of it, the hot spring. Hold on. Oh, while I was thinking about what should be done with those two, I suddenly felt a tug on my sleeve from the direction Lady Violet was sitting. When I turned my attention towards the source, Lady Violet looked at me with fear etched on her face. You're leaving my side? Weren't you going to be my support? And what's with that? Stop tugging my sleeve while looking up at me with teary eyes and speaking in that fragile voice. It's making me not want to leave your side, goddamn it. It's all right, really, Lady Violet. I'll stay by your side, and I won't go anywhere. But you just tried to go to Ms. Cyan. I did, but it's all right. Please don't sound so forlorn. She's in a very fragile state of mind right now. Of course, I meant it when I said I'd be by her side and would always have her back. But thinking back, I don't really know what a normal married life entails. What am I supposed to do as her husband in a situation like this? Hey, CLO's freaking out. What do you think, Cotty? Please share your thoughts on seeing a hesitant CLO. To revel in peace, he needs to take a seat beside her and conduct a ritual to bestow tranquility by having their hearts bond. I see a kiss. Not to worry. You lost lambs. As one of the thousands serving God, I shall stand witness to your act. Should I really leave these idiots behind? I know I should comfort her or kiss her to show my affection. Frankly, I'd do it if I'm allowed to. But I'll be damned if I have my first kiss in front of this horny, idiotic nun and delusional idiot. Moreover, Lady Violet would hate it if I kissed her without warning. You're not going to do it? Please stop, Lady Violet. Please stop saying things that'll make me sway. Ah, damn it. The two idiots fan the flames. But would it be better if I kissed her at the very least? Never mind a kiss on the lips, but I wouldn't mind kissing her on the cheek or the back of her hand. I'm sure the two idiots are going to shoot daggers at me later. If it were me, I would have no trouble making such a small gesture. Achoo. Are you okay, Cotty? Are you cold? Yes. Since I had to focus on keeping up Asgard, I couldn't spare any attention to maintaining my body temperature. Ugh, my clothes also feel so heavy. Then all you gotta do is remove that heavy, witchy cloak you have on. The hat, too, while you're at it. But I'm sure she would never take them off in front of others. Even back when she first arrived in Shiki, she was so particular about her appearance that she'd rather collapse due to heat stroke. CLO's looking as if he wants to ask us to strip. I see. So he's trying to get us out of our clothes when we're exhausted and defenseless after battle. Wah. Ooh. Fine by me, Lord CLO. My body can certainly outshine a top-tier diamond. I can't fault you for being curious. I see. So you're still very much interested in female anatomy, Lord CLO. Then should I also strip? All right. CLO, you take your clothes off too. Even a crime isn't that scary when everyone does it together. Let's go. Hey, look here, you damn nun. What's with these people? Don't tell me that the magic Miss Schwartz used infected them with her exhibitionist fetish? Nah, they're probably just delirious from the fever, and the adrenaline from the battle probably has them excited. Yes, that must be it. Though I don't know much about how adrenaline works. Lord CLO, do you intend to give me 3 moms? The voice came from the entrance of the cave. The rain had stopped before we knew it, and with the moonlight drawing a silhouette around him, stood Gray, looking at me very coldly. Space preservation magic, or Asgard, a name Apricot arbitrarily gave the spell. It isn't usually called that. Chapter 24, Wrapping Everything Up. I've been busy dealing with the aftermath. The information about Ms. Schwartz's assassination attempt was kept between me, Gray, Lady Violet, Priest Snow White, and the spy, who wasn't directly involved with the request. In a few days, some kind of response should come from the ducal family about this matter. However, the other citizens were told that Fenrir had wandered into Shiki. The gist of it was that Fenrir had strayed from the monster realm and ended up in Shiki, which I and Lady Violet's group worked together to defeat, and Gray and others restrained it. In reality, Fenrir was brought by Ms. Schwartz after taking the uniqueness of Shiki's residence in consideration, but I can't exactly explain that. I see. I did something unforgivable to that child, Fenrir. It would certainly be better to hand over that child to ensure your mental safety. Well, it might be a suitable ending for that child. That's what Ms. Schwartz said. It seems that the Fenrir she brought was rough-tempered and used to attack its own kind in near proximity. Anyway, the fact that a wild brank monster attacked the town immediately reached the neighboring towns, and they were put on high alert, fearing that other Fenrirs could attack as well. By the way, rank monsters, which are one danger level higher, are dragons and other fantasy species, so brank can basically be said to be the symbol of the threat to the general public. A dragon is probably sleeping in the basement of the academy. Most people wouldn't know about it, though. Sharing the information about the situation, investigating the area around Shiki, and strengthening defenses. I also need to scrape together money for the costs associated with all this and prepare explanatory materials for the army soldiers who will be joining us in the future. If I don't get a few things done now, it'll become a hassle later on. There's no use complaining. I'm alone right now. Gray is repairing the damaged areas with magic and negotiating the handing over of the captive, while Lady Violet is resting in her room because of the effects of the magic, her injuries, and a slight fever that may have been caused by getting wet in rain. She calmed down and went to sleep, so I'm working while I can, but in any case, I have to do what I can do by myself at the moment. Lord CLO, I've compiled the documents. All you have to do is sign it. As I was drafting documents, locked in a glaring contest with the paper, Lady Violet came to hand me the documents she had put together. When I took a look at them, they turned out to be extremely helpful documents that I hadn't done yet. As expected, she's excellent. I want to learn from her too. Oh, thank you very much, Lady Violet. Huh? Why is Lady Violet here? Oh, I see. She's here to help me. I'm very grateful. Wait, why are you here? You need to sleep. I dropped the documents I was about to accept and stood up vigorously. She should have been sleeping quietly just a few hours ago. Why is she working now? Did the person who was keeping watch over you come here, so you forced yourself to get up? No, that person was originally planning to leave this place in a month. Besides, they don't seem to be paying much attention to me because of yesterday's commotion. Is it really okay for somebody to monitor her just for a month? It's definitely not good for multiple people to be here all the time, but I was convinced that one or two people were supposed to be watching her in secret. But then, why is Lady Violet here? I'm only here because, well, there's something I want to confirm. Something you want to confirm? Miss Violet's face was faintly dyed red, and she seemed reluctant to speak. Her face didn't seem to be red from fever. Maybe she's embarrassed. It's about what happened yesterday. I remember up to the point when you handed me the ring, but my memory is fuzzy after that. Thinking back to yesterday, not only did I see her in a vulnerable state, I even saw her crying. It must have been unbearably embarrassing for her. Yeah, I mean, I get it, since she was out of control and kept doing things she'd never do, usually like trying to take off her clothes, demanding a kiss, and a piggyback. Well, she did take off her clothes on the first day of our meeting, so I can't really comment much about it. But that was due to her desperation, so it doesn't count. By the way, as it turned out, all of them, including Cyan and Apricot, seemed to have been acting crazy because of the fever, though I think it was normal behavior for those two. Though it was probably not just due to the fever, but also the unknown magic. I've been wondering if whatever happened yesterday was my delusion, that I accepted the ring in my delusion, and that it was a ring that I made myself and put it on myself. Isn't that too sad? If it was true, she would have had serious mental problems. But I see. So you thought it was a dream? No. I remember your words, Lord CLO. I'm on your side. So let's support each other as a family. You're the one I want, that's what you said. Stop. Don't remind me. I'm happy that she remembered it, but now that I'm not on midnight high anymore, it makes me want to cover my face with my hands. But I still can't help being anxious. I'm unsociable, can't see my surroundings. I'm arrogant and a paper airplane. Does this person understand what a paper airplane is? Amethyst Paper Airplane is a nickname from fans, albeit I doubt anybody from this world would call her that. I did call her that before, though. Besides, Lady Violet might be talking about her faults, but I also have many bad qualities. What are you talking about? I also have a lot of bad qualities, and nobody is perfect, right? However, if there is something you would like me to fix, I will try my best to fix it. So, Lady Violet seemed to be having a hard time saying the rest of the words. I wonder what comes after that, so. Will you please not abandon me? Yeah, for now that part is something I want fixed, so I'll have her fix it. Wouldn't I be just taking advantage of her weakened state and making her dependent on me at this rate? To start with, I don't mind if you leave me, Lady Violet. No, I owe you a debt of gratitude, Lord CLO. I could never. You are not my property. I'm not going to tell her to absolutely obey my orders just because I saved her or to stay by my side for the rest of her life. I won't be arrogant enough to say that I want to become a convenient and beloved existence for her just because I saved her once or twice. If you want to run away, you can do so. If you want to abandon me, you can do it, and if you want to be selfish, you can be selfish. I want to fall in love with Violet Hartfield with all of that included. And there's also the fact that originally I only saw Lady Violet as a game character. So I want to know, we probably both have qualities that we don't like in each other, but I want to live as a family with all of those included. I'm sorry. I made another mistake. It's fine. In fact, considering your usual work efficiency, if I don't lecture you at a time like this, I'll lose my position. It's okay to show more and more of your weaknesses. Lecture, you say? Foo-foo. Ah, she laughed. I'm glad. She had steeled herself and didn't laugh much, so I'd be happy if she could stay smiling. Anyway, as for the main reason why I came here. After clearing her throat, Lady Violet took my left hand. I don't think you've heard my reply yet. She looked straight at me again and gave me a soft smile. I might cause you many troubles, but I look forward to staying with you for a long time. I will also stay by your side, so let's support each other together. She replied in an unusually polite tone while touching my ring. Chapter 25, something of an interlude, Gray's observation. It's going to be 4 years since I started living in the same house as my master and father, Lord CLO. I have no memories associated with my birth parents. I was living my days groveling in the slums since I was aware of my surroundings. And if my memory serves me, I was kidnapped when I was 5 and became the property of Shiki's previous lord. Compared to back then, my living conditions have improved considerably. Without being beaten or forced to wear the slave collar and having been given a family name, taught to read and write and how to wield magic. Though I did learn everything Lord CLO could teach me in 3 days, he got pretty grumpy about it. However, Lord CLO is quite athletic, or rather, an excellent fighter. He doesn't seem to realize it himself, as he's lost to magic several times. But in regards to combat abilities, he's the best in all of Shiki. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to beat the Fenrir barehanded, even with it having lost one eye. And if I had to comment on his peculiar characteristics, it would be the fact that he mumbles odd things at times, and that he's not very aristocratic. Maybe I can't say this about him, since I'm something of a noble myself, but compared to other nobles who visit at times, or the previous lord/employer, he feels closer to a commoner. Recently, I gained a mother. She's called Lady Violet. She's the beautiful young daughter of an Extuk, and she has lavender hair. She arrived in Shiki with a broken heart, and I couldn't see any of the arrogant attitude she was infamous for. And even now, I would find it hard to say she acts haughty. Lately, I often see her sport a satisfied smile whenever she looks at the ring on her hand. Beautiful, both in appearance and conduct, she had an excellent academic background magic abilities, and many other qualities which invoke admiration and respect. She's aristocratic in the truest sense, while Lord CLO isn't. Though I refer to her as Mother, she's but 4 years older, hence making us look weird from an outside standpoint. We are obviously not related by blood, and as we don't resemble each other in the least, anyone looking in would think a sister was playing with her younger relative at best. I gave it much thought and came to the decision that the relationship between us needs to be one of parent and child, and that we should play house. I'll try relaying my decision to Sister Cyan next time I see her and hear her thoughts. That said, she's a little distant with me compared to Lord CLO, and I'm not sure if that's because I'm an ex-slave, but it makes me rather sad. That's what my mother and father are like, but Sister Cyan says they don't really act like a couple. I don't know much about marriage. I've observed the residents of Shiki, but since I'm a stranger to their behavior behind closed walls, I can only imagine how a married couple are supposed to be like. Speaking of, back then during the incident with Schwartz, Lord CLO almost gave me 3 mothers. Perhaps one wife isn't enough to satisfy Lord CLO. Come to think of it, in a story I read before, the male protagonist was approached by several women and he had a romantic relationship with all of them. It's possible that Lord CLO also yearns to live such a life. Apricot refers to such a man as a clueless, dense harem guy. If Lord CLO wishes to be such a person, then I shall call him by that and cheer him on. Either way, it makes me a bit sad that my precious family isn't acting normal. So I inquired Priest Snow White on what I should do. Let's see. I have never gone out with a woman, so I'm not the best person to ask for advice. But is that still all right with you? I replied that I was okay with it and waited for the priest's advice. I think they need to make time to sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk. Create an opportunity to get to know each other without time or work getting in the way. I see. An opportunity to communicate. It's true that ever since their relationship started to change, they've been so occupied with dealing with the aftermath of the Fenrir incident that I feel like they haven't had many chances to talk. It's probably a good idea to create an opportunity for said communication to happen. Come to think of it, a hot spring apparently popped up nearby recently. I hear a hot spring is akin to a natural bath and that it's big enough to accommodate several people. Lord CLO was wondering if the townspeople or tourists could make use of it, if a path was somehow laid leading up to it. Meaning, if the problem of the path was resolved, it's possible to make use of the hot spring. And I heard this from Lord Kaki, that in order for a man and a woman to strengthen their relationship, it was crucial to see each other naked. Taking a bath together means neither of them will have any clothes on and they can have a nice, long talk without time or work getting in their way. It's the perfect opportunity. All right, I should go propose the idea right away. Make hay while the sun shines, as they say. I sought out Lady Violet and put forward my idea. Go to the hot spring with Lord CLO. Two can't. I know it's not odd for couples to do something like that together, but there's an order to everything. Moreover, I have very little experience bathing with other people. During bath time, other than when she was a child, Lady Violet typically seemed to have had a maid on standby outside the door, and hence hadn't had much experience with taking a bath with others present in the room. In her words, take care of your own needs, never expose yourself to others in a vulnerable state, seems to have been the root of the education she received. But it might be a good idea for us to take one together. To be honest, I felt a distance between us. It might be good to find a place to chat leisurely. Does that mean a parent and child aren't strangers? I was feeling a bit left out, but I am happy seeing her trying to reach out this way. I'm a bit bad at approaching people. I'm always searching their faces, worried that they would hate me. However, both I and Lady Violet wish to get to know each other better, and if she's taking a step forward, then it's only right that I meet her halfway. I hear it's normal in a family for a mother and son to take baths together, and I've taken many baths with Lord CLO during the beginning stages of our relationship. Those times really help calm my nerves. All right then, I'll make use of this chance to strengthen our bond as mother and son. Haha, then let's do that next time. It'll make me nervous to do it for the first time with someone of the opposite sex. So let me start with you and then take it from there. I wonder why. Something about Lady Violet's words felt off. Even as I felt something wasn't right, I made a promise to have a bath together with Lady Violet someday. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.